A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all old-time radio.
Five bells. Stand by all stations.
Attention, all districts. A 5-alarm fire. 5 bells. Move in immediately.
That's it. Let's go. Let's go. Firefighters. Presenting Firefighters, the true-to-life story of our unsung heroes who stand ready to ride by day or night against our most murderous enemy, the demon of fire. In just a minute, we'll join Chief Cody in his grim search for Polecat and Scrubby, the two hoodlums who are squaring up a fancied grievance against the fire department, and especially against Tim Collins, by pulling a night-long series of false alarms. But first, here's something you'll want to hear. Let's go, firefighters. Let's go to the location of Box 115, where, as you remember, Chief Cody has just held a hasty conference with Tim Collins. A moment ago, Tim said,
Chief Cody, these false alarms are timed just right.
How do you mean, Collins?
Well, now, look, the first was tapped in from Box 112 at 12 minutes before 1 o'clock this morning.
Right, I've looked at the report.
Right, and since then, Chief, every 8 or 10 minutes, another false alarm. Just in time to catch us as we roll back to the fire station, or, if not, as soon as we get back to bed in the dormitory.
It's criminal, Collins.
Bad enough, Chief, if we had an accident on one of these runs. Maybe put an engine out of action or injured some men.
I know, Collins. I can't think of anything worse than an accident on the way to a false alarm.
Well, sir, we take that risk on any run we make, but suppose a real emergency came up. Somebody really needed us when we were answering one of these fake calls for help.
It could happen, Collins. It's been known to happen.
And another thing, Chief. I've been noticing how these alarms are planned, sir.
Oh, you've noticed that, have you?
Yes, sir.
First, 112 box was pulled. Then 116. Way over on the other side of your district.
Yes, sir, that means that somebody's traveling pretty fast from one box to another miles away.
Somebody in a fast car, Collins.
Not much doubt who it is.
I'll bet anything it's your two friends.
Yeah, those hoodlums, Polecat and Scrubby. Chief, can't the police check up on them?
I've got 2 police cars helping me patrol the district, Collins. We'll catch those rascals in the act sooner or later.
Oh, but it's getting late, Chief. It's getting to be time for the sun to come up. Suppose they sneak off home.
I'm going to check on their homes now, Collins. Going to find out if they're home in bed, where we're sure they're not. And then if they do show up, somebody will be ready for it.
As Chief Cody finishes his quick review of his plans, he orders Tim and Engine Company 209 back to quarters, and in his own car sets out to follow a police guide to the home addresses of Polecat and Scrubby. Meanwhile, only a few blocks away from Box 115, from which a few minutes ago they sent in the latest in their series of vicious false alarms, Polecat and Scrubby sit in their fast car hidden in an alley.
Hey, Polecat.
Now what? You getting cold again?
It's too quiet. How come only one engine come to the box instead of 3 engines and a big hook and ladder like before?
Oh, they ain't so dopey, you dope.
Who's a dope?
They ain't. Them firemen. They're catching wise.
You mean they're catching wise? It's us that's pulling them boxes?
Nah. They're catching wise ain't no real fires. Not real fires, see? So they don't answer no more. But then they can't take no chance. They gotta answer the box somehow, so only one engine comes.
Well, that ain't right. Suppose maybe there's a real fire.
So what? So the engine that comes, that one tells the other guys, and then they come.
It ain't right.
What ain't?
Well, them guys, them firemen, they get paid for answering alarms, don't they? Well, what's the idea? They only send one engine. It ain't right.
The heck with it. Let's get moving, boy. We ain't through for the night yet.
Hey, hold it. Somebody coming.
Huh? Somebody here in the alley?
Oh, listen, out in the street there, a car.
That's just the engine going back till we pull another false alarm.
Oh, listen.
Hey, cops, a prowl car. What?
And another one. Hey, where they going, Polecat, all them cops?
That wasn't no prowl car, that second one. That was a fire department. That was a battalion chief or something.
What are we going to do?
Pull another alarm. What do you think?
Well, all them cops and stuff, though.
The heck with him, Scrubby. They won't never catch us.
Well,
You keep your lights out like we've been doing.
They won't never catch us, I said. Not the way I know these alleys. Listen, I can drive around all night and nobody ain't never even going to know we're there.
Okay, Polecat, if you say so. Let's find us another box.
And half an hour later, as the weary firemen, exhausted and raging from a succession of runs to imaginary fires, return again to the quarters of Engine 209.
Okay, gonna go. Back her in.
All right, boys, get some sleep if you can.
I'm gonna stay here on the sidewalk, Lieutenant, get some air. All right with you?
Okay, Collins, don't get lost.
I won't get lost, sir. Just get some air. Try to keep myself awake.
Hey, what's that coming, Hooksy?
Police car, I guess.
Okay, I'll be in my office.
Right.
Collins?
Chief Cody. I thought it was the police again. You want me to call the lieutenant, Chief?
No, let him get some rest if he can. Now, come over here to the car.
Yes, sir. We've had 2 more false alarms, Chief, since you picked us up at box 115.
Good, that's great.
Oh, now, wait a minute, Chief. Which side are you on?
Collins, you said yourself there's a plan to the way these fellows work.
Well, yes, I did, but...
First was the false alarm from box 112. Then 116, way across the district.
Then a box nearby, and the next way over on the other side again.
Now only 2 boxes in the district haven't been called. 119 and 114.
Well, then if you can figure which box they'll pull next...
I'll be there to meet them. Collins, where was the last call? From a box nearby or far away?
Box 119, right down the street here. Only 1 box is left.
Mm-hmm. And box 114 is next, and that's where I'm going.
Well, good luck, Chief. Good hunting.
I'll bring you their scalps. This time those rats are done for.
Here we go, Scrubby. This is the last one.
Can't we stay in the alleys till we get near the alarm box?
Not this time, but who cares? We got the speed, ain't we?
Well, them cops has been zigging and zagging all over.
We see a prowl car, we just duck. After this box, we duck anyway.
Out of town, huh, Polecat? Like you said, we go somewhere till they forget about it?
Here's the street. Hang on, we're gonna take off.
Hey, Polecat, like you said, we're gonna leave town, huh?
Yeah, sure, till they forget. Only they ain't never gonna forget what we done to them tonight.
Creeps, they've been rushing them engines around for 3 hours. Never no sleep or nothing, not tonight.
Some fun, that's Scrubby.
We ain't never had no more fun.
I'll say.
Not even maybe the time we stole your old lady's canary.
And Jimpy down at the pool room and give us a box of cigars for it.
Yeah, and your old woman, we told her it must have flew out the window and got run over.
Face, remember how the old woman hollered and cried?
How we laughed like we had to die after we got out of the house.
Some fun, huh?
I'll say.
I can hear the old woman speaking, yet just remembered it.
Yeah, so can I.
Hey.
Well, we coming to the firebox?
Yeah, the next corner, but...
Huh?
Hey, something is screeching. Something's coming up behind us.
Hey, that's a siren.
The cops.
Yeah, I think it... No, I said, I don't want to fire people. What is it? Hey, Polecat, give it a gun. Get me out of there.
Hang on, Scrubby. Gonna swing wide. We got the firebox, see? We swing wide at the corner. Shoot straight down the alley instead of the street,
Well,
see?
step on it. He's right behind. Step on it, Polecat.
Great blazing blisters. They hit the truck. Stop here, Vito. That car's burning.
Okay, Chief.
Well, leave the alleyway clear, Vito. Don't drive down there. Go tap in an alarm. When 209 gets here, send them straight down the alley to the fire.
Okay, Chief.
I'll take our own extinguisher here. Get those men out of that bonfire if there's a chance in a million. Anybody alive in there? Well, cover your face. Don't breathe that flame.
Hey.
I'm coming in for you.
Hey.
As soon as I watch the fire back from that door. Got the extinguisher right here.
It hurts.
Yeah.
It hurts.
You bet it hurts. It's a wonder you're alive, mister. Here, I'll drag you clear.
I didn't do nothing.
Lie still. Don't try to move. You're safe here till the ambulance comes and the police.
I didn't do nothing with him, sort of. It was him false alarms, not me.
Him? The other one?
Yeah.
Where is he? He's not in that blazing wreck.
He was flying clear when we hit.
He was thrown out of the car? Speak up, man.
Hey, don't let him get away. Scrubby done it. Scrubby done it all.
Oh, there they come. Hey. Bring that extinguisher. Knock down that fire before it spreads to those wooden fences.
Hey, there's a man lying here.
Well, never mind him. Knock down that fire. Collins.
Yes, sir.
Drag that man out of the way.
Okay, Chief.
All right, men, that fire is licked. Come over here, all of you. Come on, boys. All right, here they are. The men who've been pulling those false alarms all night. A couple of tough guys who thought they were too smart to follow the simple rules of decency and safety. Well, what do you think of them?
Chief Cody.
Yes, Collins?
Well, Chief, their car is wrecked, their bodies are wrecked, and when they get out of the hospital, they'll go right into jail.
Well, boy?
And, Chief Cody, it's tough, but when you ask for trouble, you're bound to get it. And it looks as if these men got just what they asked for.
They certainly are getting just exactly what they asked for. And sooner or later, people who ask for trouble get what they want, like Polecat and Scrubby, soon to go to jail for their wretched defiance of the safe driving campaign and criminal prank of pulling false alarms. As for Chief Cody and Tim Collins, new adventures await them, as you'll hear in our next true-to-life episode of The Firefighters. In just a moment, Chief Bob Cody will tell you, boys and girls, how you can help the firefighters in your own hometown. But first, here's the message you ought to hear. And now, Chief Bob Cody with a special notice for the Firefighters Brigade. Chief Cody.
Hello, boys and girls. This is your friend, Chief Cody, with some tips you might like to know about firefighting. For instance, you may not know that we think of fires as coming in 3 separate classes. Class A is a fire in wood or paper or any other ordinary kind of material that burns easily. And a Class A fire can usually be controlled by cooling it down, lowering the temperature with water or some kinds of extinguisher spray. Soon I'll tell you about the other kinds of fire. But that's all for now. You'll hear from me soon.
Fire Chief Cody and the young rookie fireman Tim Collins will be back on the same station the next time you hear...
That's it. Let's roll.
Let's go! Firefighters!
The Jack Benny Program, presented by Lucky Strike.
LSMFT.
Lucky Strike means fine tobacco.
Here's what independent tobacco experts say about the fine tobacco bought by the makers of Lucky Strike.
Believe me, that tobacco is ripe, smooth, and mild. Tobacco you just can't beat for real smoking quality.
Garland Tilley, 25 years and independent tobacco buyer, said that.
Fine mellow tobacco that tastes good and smokes good. I smoked Lucky's for 29 years.
Dewey Huffines, top flight tobacco auctioneer, said that.
Yes, season after season, at auction after auction, independent tobacco experts can see the makers of Lucky Strike buy that fine, that light, that naturally mild tobacco.
So for your own real deep down smoking enjoyment, remember,
LSMFT.
Lucky Strike means fine tobacco. Yes, fine tobacco.
So smoke that smoke of fine tobacco, Lucky Strike. So round, so firm, so fully packed, so free and easy on the draw.
The Lucky Strike program, starring Jack Benny, with Mary Livingston, Phil Harris, Rochester, Dennis Day, and yours truly, Don Wilson. Ladies and gentlemen, next Sunday, immediately after the broadcast, Jack Benny and his gang leave for the East to fulfill vaudeville engagements in Chicago and New York. So let's go out to Beverly Hills, where we find Mary and Rochester helping Jack prepare for the big event.
Gosh, Mary, this is exciting. Next Sunday we'll be on that train. A few days later we'll be on the stage at the Chicago Theater.
You know, Jack, playing vaudeville is going to be a lot different from radio.
You said it.
I brought a couple of dresses over so you can tell me which one you think will look best.
Good.
Here. How do you like this one?
Well, I don't know. It doesn't look bad, and I like the puff sleeves, but I think the neck is cut much too low.
That's the back.
Oh. So hard to tell when it's empty. Let's see the other dress, Mary.
Okay. How about this one? It has a rainbow sash, a peekaboo waist, and...
No, don't bother, Mary. I've changed my mind. I'll wear a tuxedo. That stuff doesn't get laughs anymore, you know. But you know, Mary, it's going to be fun getting back on the stage again. What are you laughing at?
Did you hear what Fred Allen said about you last week?
No, Mary. What did he say?
Well, he said...
He said that? Well...
Not only that, Jack. He said that you killed Vaudeville. Now you're returning to the scene of the crime.
Certainly I killed Vaudeville. After the way Allen made it suffer, what I did was an act of mercy. Allen thinks he's so smart since they made him a vice president. Anyway, in spite of what Allen says, when we get to Chicago Theater, we're going to have a terrific show. Which reminds me, Rochester, did you buy the new strings for my violin like I told you to?
Uh-huh. I couldn't decide whether to get you the wire strings or the gut strings.
Well, why didn't you ask the man?
I did, and he said, take shoelaces. Nobody will know the difference.
Well, that's ridiculous. I mean, how can I get music out of laces?
You can play Shoo Shoo Baby by Forsheim. Oh, Livy, paint your eyes red. You're another Phil Harris.
Mary, stop clowning. I got to think about the show I'm going to do in Chicago. Gee, it's going to be sensational. I can just see it now. The band plays da-da-da-da-dum, da-da-da-dum, da-dum, da-dee-da-da-dum. Thank you, Rochester. Then I step out on the stage into a big spotlight and take my first bow like this.
Jack, that's no bow. You have to bend from the waist.
You mean like this? Ooh, my back.
Come on, Jack, try it again. Get your head lower.
Mary, I can't bend down any further.
Let's tie his hands behind his back and put a dollar bill on the floor.
Well, never mind, Jack. You can practice bowing later. Straighten up now.
Okay. Ooh, gee, it isn't like it used to be in vaudeville. Gee, I can't straighten up. I I can't stay bent over like this. Rochester, don't stand there. Do something.
I'm thinking, boss. I'm thinking. I got it.
What?
As long as you're in that position, let's go upstairs and bring down the trunk.
Cut that out. Mary, this is all your fault. There, I'm all right now. Come in.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, Dennis.
Hello, kid. Hey, you should have been here a couple of seconds ago, Dennis. I was bent over and I couldn't straighten up.
Gee, that happened to my father once. He bent down to lift something and he couldn't straighten up again.
Well, what did he do? Or what did you do, rather?
Well, my mother tied his head to the radiator and his feet to the bed.
Yeah?
And then she took her arms and pushed down on him and pushed, when all of a sudden, boing!
Gee.
Vertebrae flew in all directions.
Well, look, kid, I'm getting ready to do a stage show, and I want to get my act in shape. Have you got any ideas?
Well, last summer I wanted to give my voice a rest, so I formed an adagio act and I went on the road.
Dennis, you did an adagio act?
Yeah, but I had to give it up.
Well, you weren't strong enough, huh?
Oh, I was plenty strong. I'd take the girl, whirl her around my head, and then throw her. The first time she broke her arm. Then she broke her leg, and then she broke her nose. I felt awful about it.
Well, that doesn't sound like your fault, Dennis. Maybe when you threw her, the other fellow didn't catch her right.
Oh, other fellow.
Mary, stop looking at him like that. He's only a kid.
Say, Jack.
What?
Rochester is so anxious to go on the stage with you. Why don't you let him do a song?
Hey, that might be a pretty good idea. How about it, Rochester?
Oh, boss, forget it.
No, Rochester, don't be bashful. Now, come on. I mean, you might be swell on the stage. Come on. Let's hear you sing a song. Maybe we can put it in the show, huh?
Okay.
Go ahead.
What's come with me to Alabama? Let's go see my little man. That's what I like about South. There you make
No, not that number, Rochester.
No, there's a never
Oh, Rochester, not that number.
Take you that well, like
Rochester, that's Phil's
Did you hear the place phone? You know, I did hear
Rochester, look, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Rochester, wait a minute.
Got that Moses, but it's way out there.
Dennis, if anybody sings around here, I'd rather it be you. Now, come on, let's have it. Very good, Dennis. That's a nice song.
Say, boss, don't you think there's a place for me to sing a song on your stage show?
No, Rochester. When we're in the theater, I want you to do just the part I gave you. Have you been rehearsing it?
Yeah, all week.
Well, let's hear it.
Peanuts, popcorn, and candy. Peanuts, popcorn, and walkie and peanuts.
Very good, Rochester. Very good. Remember what I told you. Never change a $5 bill unless you take it out to the light. You remember?
Benny, what are you going to do on the show?
Oh, I'm going to do everything, kid. You know, master of ceremonies, a solo on the violin. And for the first time in my career, I'm going to do a tap dance. One of those old-fashioned tap dances where you put sand on the floor.
Oh, Jack, that's corny.
It is not. Rochester, where's that little box of sand? There. Now dump it on the floor.
Yes, sir.
Now practice my tap dance. Dennis, help me out by humming Swanee River, will you?
Okay. Da 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 dee da da dee da da da.
Fred Astaire should see me.
Da 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 dee da da.
Come in.
Hiya, Jackson. Hello, kid.
Phil, come on in here.
Yeah, what are you doing, Jackson? Kind of looking over some of the old routines, huh? So we can... Holy smoke, who put that sand on the floor?
Oh, I'm sorry, Phil. Let us help you out.
No, Jackson.
Phil, let us pick you up. It won't be the first time. Come on.
Leave me alone. I'll do it myself. The last time somebody helped me up, they bumped my head on the curb.
All right, have it your own way. Anyway, I'm busy rehearsing for the show, you know.
Say, Jack, when do we arrive in Chicago?
Watch for the day, the 7th of May. And our show opens at the Chicago Theater on the 9th. Now, Phil, have you thought about your act for the stage show?
Don't worry about me, Jackson. Don't worry. After the dull stuff you're going to do, I'll walk out and throw that Harris smile on them and melt the butter on their popcorn. And then I'll hit them with 30 or 40 courses of That's What I Like About the South.
30 or 40 choruses.
Well, I haven't got time to give it all to him.
Bill, you wouldn't have the nerve to walk out in front of an audience and sing that song.
He wouldn't, eh? What about the time he went to Tommy Manville's wedding and sang Thanks for the Memory?
I guess you're right, Mary.
You can say what you like, Livy, but I know what I'm doing. As a matter of fact, when I play a theater, I make them take the bulbs out of the marquee and put my picture up there.
Your picture? Why don't you let them put your name up there?
I don't trust nobody. How do I know what they're spelling?
Oh, yes. I never thought of that.
You know something, Jackson? I got to get that billing that I deserve. I'm a great comedian.
Oh, fine. Some great comedian. He's got 2 shows on NBC, and he hasn't been cut off the air once. You know, I need you like a moose needs a hat rack. I can't understand why that didn't get a laugh. 3 weeks I've been doing it. It's never gotten a laugh. Norman Krasno loves it. Anyway, kids, it'll be a lot of fun going to Chicago, New York, but I'm going to miss the gang here in Beverly Hills. You know, all my friends and the Ronald Colemans next door. Incidentally, they're coming to our broadcast today. I sent them 2 tickets.
Ronnie, where are you?
I'm here in the library, Benita.
Oh, there you are. What are you doing?
Just reading. This is marvelous. Just wonderful. And so true, too.
Oh, put away those reviews on the late George Apley.
All right, darling, but I haven't read them yet today.
Oh, darling, I meant to tell you, Mr. Benny was over, and he left a pair of tickets for us for his broadcast.
Look, I wouldn't go to Benny's broadcast if I were the guest star. By the way, when did he leave the tickets?
When he borrowed your full dress suit.
My full dress suit? When will that man stop? Next thing we know, he'll be wanting to borrow our piano.
Oh, Ronnie, look in the living room.
No, this is too much. That man drives me mad. If he hadn't borrowed my razor, I'd go upstairs and cut my throat.
Oh, please don't. He's got our Band-Aids, too.
How do you like that?
Well, calm down. We will have a bit of a vacation soon. Mr. Benny's going away on a vaudeville tour.
Vaudeville tour? Well, what in the world could Benny do on the stage?
Play the violin, I suppose.
You mean that people will pay money to hear Benny play the violin?
Yes.
Huh. Say, Benita, let's you and I go out and join Spike Jones.
Don't be so silly. Darling, pass me an apple, will you? I feel a bit hungry.
Here you are.
Thank you. You know, in his vaudeville act, Mr. Benny will have Manchester and also Mr. Harris.
Phil Harris?
Uh-huh.
Benita, have you ever seen any of Phil Harris's musicians?
Please, Ronnie, I'm eating.
The weirdest experiences since we moved here. You remember the afternoon when we thought there was an eclipse? And then we found that Don Wilson had walked between our house and the sun.
What strange people. Oh, darling, I meant to ask you about Dennis Day. Is he really Irish?
Irish? He thinks that when you die, you go to Dluckamora and Barry Fitzgerald lets you in.
There's only one normal person in the whole crew.
There is?
Yes. Well, haven't you ever noticed Mary Livingston?
Oh, my dear, you've got to admit that Miss Livingston is pretty, and when she stands alongside of one of the... I'll get it. Hello? Oh, Jack Benny, we were just talking about you. Yes, I know we have tickets to your broadcast today, but I'm afraid we were... Yeah, I realize that, Jack, but I know, Jack, but... Well, that's all very well, Jack, but it just so happens that today we thought we'd stay at home.
Well, Ronnie, you know I hate to brag, but all my programs have been very good, and Jay's going to be one of the best. And you're lucky to be able to get some tickets because it's very hard to get. If you don't want them, there'll be plenty of other customers. I mean, people will be glad to use the tickets, so I won't take no for an answer, Ronnie. I'll even drive you down my car to be ready in 5 minutes. Goodbye. Well, kids, we're going to have some very famous people in our audience today, Mr. and Mrs. Ronald Coleman. And they insist that I drive them to the studio. Rochester, get the car ready.
Don't you want me to shave you first?
No, I've already shaved.
How come so early, boss?
Well, now that daylight saving time is here, I get my 5 o'clock shadow at 4. Now, look, kids, today let's try to do the best show we ever did.
Oh, Jack, stop worrying.
Don, what are you doing here? My quartet, too. Aren't you supposed to be down at the studio rehearsing?
Why, yes, Jack, but we've got an idea for your stage show that I think will be wonderful. Won't it, fellas?
You mean for the quartet?
Yes. You remember that old song, Chloe?
You mean they have an arrangement of Chloe? Well, come on, Don, let's hear it.
All right, take it, boys.
Someone calling, no reply. Night is falling here inside.
Lucky's.
Round and firm, and what is more, free and easy on the draw. Let me grow there too. LSMFT, I gotta go where you are. Oh, no place could be too far. I'll go by car. Smoke and find tobacco. Buy them by the tobacco.
That was fine, Don. We'll try and use it in our show. Well, kids, we better get going to the studio now. I got to pick up the Coleman.
Well, I can take the sportsman and Dennis in my car.
Good. Mary, you come with me.
Jack, please hurry. Benita and I are waiting.
Oh, Ronnie, I'll be right. Dennis, stop! Now, let's get going. Come on, Rochester, get the car.
Benita, riding in this car is the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to me.
I know how you feel. Look at all that dirt on the floor.
I don't mind the dirt, but the weeds are so high.
You want to change places with me?
I can't. My pants are caught on the springs. Anyway, I'm glad we're going down this side street so nobody sees us.
Are you folks comfortable back there?
Oh, I'm fine. Well, frankly, I find it a little drafty.
Drafty? Well, we'll fix that. Rochester, stop the car and put up the curtain.
Yes, sir.
Oh, no, don't bother. It'll be all right. Are you comfortable, Jack?
Sure, why?
I thought you'd be a little cramped up there with the meter.
Oh, stop with that.
Say, Jack, is this an English car?
An English car?
Yeah, I noticed the steering wheel is on the right.
Oh, no, it's just bent that way.
Oh, I see an accident on Hollywood Boulevard.
No, it's trouble on Mulholland Drive.
Rochester, now don't drive so fast because... Oh, look, there's Greer Garson. Hello, Greer. Look, he's waving at us. How are you, Greer? Goodbye, Greer.
Benita, you and Ronnie can sit up again. We've passed her. Thank you, Mary. Jack, do we have to go so fast? There's an awful wind back here.
There is?
Yes, Benita. It's lucky you brought your muff with you.
My muff?
Yes, right there on your arm.
Oh, yeah, Mr. Bennett, this must have blown off your head.
Oh, thanks.
By the way, Jack, is this car the Maxwell you used to talk so much about?
No, Ronnie. During the war, I gave my Maxwell to the scrap drive.
Oh, yes, and this is what they gave you in return?
Well, no, you see... Rochester, there's a red light.
I see it.
We made it, Ronnie. You can put your rabbit's foot away now.
You know, folks, I think that...
Mr. Benny, may I have your autograph, please?
Why, certainly, of course. There you are.
And you're Mary Livingston, aren't you? Yes, I am. And, oh, my goodness, this is a surprise. You are...
Mr. and Mrs. Herman Schlagelmeyer.
I thought you were Roy Rogers.
Rochester, the light's green now.
Yes, sir.
Hurry, Rochester, start the car. We're holding up traffic.
It's only the motor.
I wasn't frightened. I was thrown.
For goodness sake, Rochester, start the car. We're holding up everyone. I can't understand why it acts like this. I've done everything for this motor.
Have you had it vaccinated for whooping cough?
Rochester, try it again. Ronnie, Benita, would you mind getting out and helping us push?
Get out and push! Mr. Benny, let me explain something to you. I didn't want to go to your broadcast. I didn't want to ride in your car. And as far as I'm concerned, if I never...
Look, we're stalled right in front of Brahma's Chinese where they're showing the late George Aptley.
Well, what are we waiting for? Let's go!
Well, the least he could do is come back and pick up the door. Come on, Mary, let's push.
We'll be back in just a moment, but first, here's Basil Rysdale.
As you listen to the chant of the tobacco auctioneer, remember, LSMFT.
American.
Lucky Strike means fine tobacco. And fine tobacco is what counts in a cigarette.
So listen to the words of a man who really knows fine tobacco, Mr. Carl Hartfield of Greensburg, Kentucky. For 29 years, an independent tobacco buyer. He said,
At auction after auction, I've seen the makers of Lucky Strike buy fine tobacco. Right prime leaf. Tobacco that's got real smoking quality. I've smoked Lucky's for over 28 years.
The independent tobacco experts like Mr. Hartfield speak from their own experience. For over the years, they've seen the makers of Lucky Strike consistently select and buy that fine, that light, that naturally mild tobacco.
Fine, light, naturally mild tobacco. Yes, you'll always find...
LSMFT.
Lucky Strike means fine tobacco.
LSMFT.
Lucky Strike means fine tobacco. And this fine Lucky Strike tobacco means real deep-down smoking enjoyment for you.
So smoke that smoke of fine tobacco, Lucky Strike. So round, so firm, so fully packed. So free and easy on the draw.
I want to take just a moment to tell all of our friends in Texas and New Orleans that we're leaving by plane tonight, and we'll be with you in Galveston on Monday, Houston on Tuesday, and New Orleans on Wednesday to put on shows to raise money for the relief of the Texas City victims. I know you'll all give this your full support. Thank you very much.
This is NBC, the national broadcasting company. Good health to all from Rexall. From New York, it's the Phil Harris Alice Faye Show, presented by the makers of Rexall drug products and 10,000 independent Rexall family druggists.
Good evening. This is your Rexall family druggist, welcoming you for the 10,000 independent druggists who have added the word Rexall to our own store names. You know us by the orange and blue Rexall sign on our windows. The sign means that we carry the 2,000 or more drug products made by the Rexall Drug Company, each one scientifically compounded to do a job for you. Take Rexall's famous mouthwash, MI31, as an example. MI31 is the name of a special antiseptic formula that kills contacted germs in a matter of seconds when used full strength, yet will not harm delicate membranes of the mouth and throat. Uncompromising quality like this is what we family druggists are talking about when we tell you you can depend on any drug product that bears the name Rexall.
Good health to all from Rexall. And now your Rexall family druggist brings you the Phil Harris Alice Faye Show. Written by Ray Singer and Dick Chevrolet with Elliot Lewis, Walter Tetley, Robert North, Janine Roos, Ann Whitfield, Walter Sharp and his music, yours truly, Bill Foreman, and starring Alice Faye and Phil Harris. This is the first time the Harris family has been to New York in years. And as we look in, we find them standing by the window of their suite high in the New Yorker Hotel. Phil is pointing out the famous landmarks to Alice and the children.
Gee, Daddy, New York is an exciting place.
Yeah, it sure is, Phyllis. As a matter of fact, it's the biggest city in the country. Next to Doo-Wah Diddy. Now, look, children, I want to show you some more interesting landmarks, and incidentally, Alice, I want you to pay attention, too.
Oh, now, look, Phil, you don't have to tell me about New York. I was born here and lived here until I was 18.
I know that, but a lot of new things have been built since then, like the Woolworth Building, the Brooklyn Bridge.
No, those places were built long before I was born.
If you say so. Now then, kids, do you see that low dome on Riverside Drive there? That's the tomb of the greatest general the world has ever known, Robert E. Lee.
That's Grant's tomb.
Quiet, you Yankee.
Phil, maybe I'd better
No, wait a minute. No, you don't. I don't want my little southern daughters misinformed.
All right. I'll do it your way. Chillin'. Just looky down there, you little rebels, yowl.
Thank you, Cottonmouth Faye.
Y'all see that statue of the woman in the harbor there with the arm held aloft?
Who is she, Mammy?
Barbara Fritchie.
Don't overdo it. That's the Statue of Liberty, kids. She's the most beautiful woman in the world. But you can put that torch down, baby. I'm a married man now. But look, if there's anything else you kids want me to point out, just go ahead and name it. I know this town like a book.
What's that tall building over there?
That tall building? Oh, you mean the tallest one? Oh, that's...
I'll give you a hint, Phil. It begins with the letter E.
Oh, of course, that's the Eiffel Tower, kid. Used to be the tallest structure in the world.
Until they built the Empire State Building in London.
Alice, I don't need your help. I know that.
Daddy, if we're good, will you take us to the Bronx Zoo?
The what?
The Bronx Zoo.
Oh, sure. I'm anxious to see one of them Bronxes myself. Besides that, we'll be able to see the lions, the tigers, and the anteaters.
What does an anteater look like?
Oh, an anteater? Oh, that's a funny-looking animal. It's got a long snout, and it's always poking around, and it looks like...
Good morning, Philip.
Thank you very much, Willie. Now you can go back in your cage.
Uncle Willie, Daddy's going to take us to the zoo.
Not only that, I'm going to explain all the different animals to him, Willie.
Oh, Philip, haven't you done enough to confuse their little minds already?
What are you talking about? I'm trying to educate my children. I want them to know as much as I do.
That they knew 2 years ago. Now, Philip, you'd better let me take the children to the zoo. I know more about animals than you do.
You do not? I know every animal there is there.
You do, But you're so smart. What's a new?
I beg your pardon?
I said, what's a new?
Nothing much about, so what's a new with you? Oh, you dove, you, Philip. Did you hear that? That's a pretty funny gag, ain't it? I mean, just offhand like.
Oh, Father, how could you?
Philip, that's the kind of a joke that would appeal only to a child.
As a child, I'd like to contradict you.
Maybe you don't like my sense of humor, Willie, but most people do. That's how I became successful.
Phil has a point there, Willie.
Of course I have. How do you think I became as famous as I am today?
You married Alice?
Willie has a point there.
All right. You're all just jealous of me because I'm a celebrity, because people are always crowding around me, and they're... Uh-oh. Hey, that must be the newspaper men. They've come to interview me. Yes, sir, I had it all arranged by my social secretary, Mr. Remley.
Frankie arranged it?
Sure, I gave him $500 to throw a big party last night at the Stork Club, just for the press.
Well, if it was your party, why didn't you go?
Well, Frankie thought it'd be hammy if I showed up. You know, he said he could rave about me more if I wasn't there. Uh-oh, now, kids, look. Kids, you better hide in the bedroom so you won't get trampled. Willie, you open the door and act like a butler, and Alice...
I know. I'll tie a rag around my head and pretend I'm a chambermaid.
I never thought of that. Nah, some of the older reporters might recognize you. Now, look, honey, they're here to see me, but I'll try to get you in one of the pictures.
Gee, would you?
Yeah. All right, Willie, open up that door. Let 'em in. Hey, Alice, look. There's all the important columnists are here. There's Winchell, Ed Sullivan, Jack Gould, Val Adams, Nick Kenny, John Crosby, and hey, there's Earl Wilson. Gee, if I'd have known he was coming, I'd have worn my sweater.
Say, Phil, you'd better greet them.
Yeah, I will. Gentlemen, quiet, please, gentlemen. Quiet. Quiet, if you will. I'm a busy man, and I don't have much time. Ask your questions, take your pictures systematically, and I'll try not to show any partiality.
Hey, Steve, who's the curly-headed jerk with the red eyes? I don't know. Probably a deadbeat relative of Miss Faye's.
All right, gentlemen, I'm all ready.
Step aside, Bud, so we can talk to Miss Faye.
We'd like some pictures, Miss Faye. We'd like a story from you, too.
Oh, I'll be very happy to oblige you, fellas.
Me too.
We'd like a little resume of your life story.
Well, I was born in Nashville, and I was one of 8 boys. I had all my schooling there. When I was in grammar school, at the age of 23, my pappy took me and my 7 brothers west.
Hey!
Pappy always said...
Hey, B.O. plenty. What do you think you're doing?
I'm telling the story of my life.
Go in the other room and write it down.
I haven't got a pencil and paper.
Write it on the wall in blood. We'll copy it later.
Miss Faye, may we take a picture now?
Oh, certainly. And fellas, do me a favor. Take it from over here. My left side is my best.
I look good from any side.
How about a little cheesecake? Would you mind showing us your leg? A little higher? Just a little higher? Higher, please.
I can't. I got my pants leg up to my hip now.
Will you be quiet, Miss Faye? May we see a little leg, please?
Well, if you don't mind, I'd rather not.
What's the matter, Miss Faye? Bashful?
No, bow-legged, but I'm not.
Miss Faye, tell this bellhop to get lost.
Bellhop?
Here, son, take this $5 and go down and get a bottle and some setups.
You can't tell me to go down and get a bottle? I'm on my way. I can have a picture taken any time.
Miss Faye, I always listen to your program, and I enjoy it very much, especially the songs. I'd like to hear one.
Well, which one? How about Row, 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 Old Master Painter? That's what I like about the South. Lucky Old Son, the General and his horse.
Bye-bye, baby. Remember you're my baby when they give you the eye. And just to show that I care, I will write and declare that I'm on the loose, but I'll stay on the square. I'll be lonely, but even though I'm lonely, there'll be no other guy. Though I'll be gone for a while, I know that I'll be smiling with my baby by and by.
Bye-bye, baby. Remember you're my baby when they give you the eye.
Although I know that you care, won't you write and declare that though on the loose, you are still on the square.
I'll be lonely, but send that rainbow to me, then my shadows will fly. Though I'll be gone for a while, I know that I'll be smiling with my baby by and by.
Or Old Master Painter, or Apply the Fundamental, or Chattanooga Shoe Shine Boy, or The Preacher and the Bear, or...
Why don't you shut up?
Yes, sir.
Well, thanks for the interview and the pictures, Miss Faye. We've got to run along.
Wait a minute.
What?
Say, didn't you guys go to a nice party at the Stork Club last night?
Oh, sure. And we had a swell time, too.
Who do you think your host was?
Oh, some Texas oil man named Frank Remley.
He told you he was a Texas oil man?
Oh, not only Texas. He's got wells in Oklahoma, California, and Saudi Arabia. Well, thanks again, Miss Faye.
So long, see you around.
Hey, you like that Remley? He takes the credit for throwing the party, he spends my money, and you get all the publicity.
I can't help it, darling, if the newspaper men prefer to interview me. Such is the penalty of being a cinema queen whose every action is of great import to the reading public.
Get a load of this wampus baby star. Wait till I see that Frankie. He's got oil wells, huh? I'm going to take him apart.
Curly.
Well, if it ain't the high-octane Remley. How are things in sordid Arabia? Did the newspapermen enjoy my party last night?
That was better than I expected. Here's a bill from the Store Club for $250 more.
You pay it when your next gusher comes in, Glenn. Look, Frankie, tell me about that big oil man who was at the Store Club last night.
Oil man?
Yeah.
Oh, I heard some lush there bragging about the oil wells he owned all over the world. I don't know who said it.
You were the one who said it.
Oh, that's where I heard it.
Now, wait a minute.
I know the voice sounded familiar.
Frankie, this is the worst thing you've ever done to Phil, and you ought to be ashamed of yourself, really.
Please. Don't shout at me. My nerves are all frayed. It's a hectic night I spent on Curly's behalf. I'm ruining my health for this boy.
What do you mean?
This morning when I got up, I could see the bags under my eyes without looking in the mirror.
Remley, let me ask you once more, why do you do these things to me? You were supposed to get me publicity.
Curly, I tried. I went to every columnist in town and asked them to mention your name. They all refused.
Refused why?
They all said they wrote for family newspapers and they couldn't use dirty words like Phil Harris.
What's dirty about Phil Harris? Such a clean-sounding name. Remley, you told me you were going to get me good publicity when we got to New York. Now, why haven't you?
Nobody knows you here. This is a tough town to crack. Got to do something sensational.
Sensational? Like what?
Well, let me think. Hey, I got it. All you got to do is imitate one of the greatest publicity stunts ever pulled in history. Do what Lady Godiva did.
Frankie, don't be silly. I couldn't swim the English Channel.
It's a better answer than I expected. Curly, Lady Godiva rode through town on a white horse. Naked.
Where are we going to find a naked white horse? Look, we got to think of something that nobody's ever done before. I realize that, but what?
I don't think anybody's ever walked to Europe yet.
Well, that's about as much as I can listen to. So long, fellas. I'm going inside and call a brain surgeon. I think I've got a double header for him.
Ignore her, Curly. We'll think of something.
Yeah, we'll think of something. But remember now, I want it to be dignified.
Hey, is anybody home? I've got the groceries.
All the way from California?
Huh? I'm so used to saying that I forgot. What are you two mental midgets up till now?
We're trying to figure something sensational for Mr. Harris to do so he can get publicity.
Yeah, but it's got to be dignified. Can you think of something, Julius?
Let's see. Sensational and yet dignified. I got it. Why don't you jump off the top of the Woolworth building?
What's dignified about that?
Wear a tuxedo.
Hey, I like that, Curly. Especially the tuxedo part. In case anything happens, you're all ready to be laid out.
Nothing's going to happen because I ain't going to do it.
Mr. Harris, you're yelling.
Mr. Abruzio, you're right.
But the way I got it figured out, nothing can happen to you. You and Mr. Remley go up to the top of the Woolworth building. Mr. Remley pushes you off, and I'll be down in the street to break your fall.
How you going to break my fall?
I'll catch you in a paper bag.
What's the matter with you guys, anyway? Catch me in a paper bag. Want me to walk to Europe. It's a wonder you don't want me to do a jackknife off the Brooklyn Bridge.
Curly, that's it.
What's it?
Jump off the Brooklyn Bridge. Look at Steve Brody. 50 years ago, he jumped off the Brooklyn Bridge, and people still talk about him. If you make that jump, your name will live.
And if you're lucky, you might, too.
shut up. Come here, Curly. I'll explain this to you. You don't really jump. I get up on top. I push a dummy off. You're waiting down below, and as soon as the dummy sinks in the water, you jump in, splash around, I pull you out, and you're a big man.
Big man, huh?
Sure.
Yeah, I see what you mean. But look, Frankie, the newspaper men ain't going to fall for this unless we get a lifelike dummy to push over. Now, where can we get a lifelike dummy? Julius, I want you to do me a favor.
Whatever do you have in mind, Mr. Harris?
Don't you know?
Yeah, but I want to see if you got the guts to ask me.
Now, look, Julius, you're my pal. All you got to do is to let us push you off the bridge, and it'll get me a lot of publicity. My name will be on every front page in the country. Well, the least you can do is to help a friend.
Would you jump off a bridge for me?
Of course I would.
Go ahead.
Julius, friends have to help each other without thinking of themselves.
I guess you're right, Mr. Harris. I'm being selfish. After all, since time immemorial, friends have sacrificed themselves for each other. They've given their lives so their pals might live on.
Then you'll do it?
Are you kidding?
Never mind, we'll get another dummy.
Hey, but Julius, you can help us.
Sure, as long as I get paid for my service.
All right, so I'll pay you later.
Look, Julius, your job is to push the dummy off the bridge. Flash a light so we know you dropped it, and we'll be down below to take care of the rest.
And look, Frankie, you call the newspapers and tell them to be at that bridge at exactly 11 o'clock.
Okay. Come on, Julius, you can get down and get the dummy.
Wait a minute, I didn't get paid yet. Mr. Harris, how about my services?
Let me know when they'll be held, and I'll be very happy to attend. Oh, boy, this will make Alice's publicity look sick. When this story breaks, I'll be famous the world over. Oh, Curly, sometimes you even kill me, you dove, you. Sing to me, will you, my pet? Sing it out. Master painter from the faraway hills painted the violets and the daffodils. He put the purple in the twilight haze, tended a rainbow for the rainy day. Dreamed up the murals on the blue summer skies, painted the devil in my darling's eyes, captured a dreamer with 1,000 thrills. The old master painter from the faraway hills. Then came his masterpiece, and when he was through, he smiled down from heaven and he gave me you. What a beautiful job on that wonderful day. The old master painter from the hills far away. He came from the world on blue summer skies. He traced a love line in my darling's eyes. He put the purple in the twilight haze, tended a rainbow for the rainy days. Dreamed up the murals on the blue summer sky, painted that devil in my darling's eyes, captured a dreamer with 1,000 thrills. The old master painter from the faraway hills. Then came his masterpiece, and when he was through, he smiled down from heaven and he gave me you. What a beautiful job on that wonderful day. The old master painter from the hills far away, far away.
From the
Hey, Curly, where do you see the publicity you get on this? Well, the time's getting close. Don't forget, as soon as you see Julia's signal, jump off this dock into the river.
Frankie, I've been sitting here medicating.
Yeah?
Oh, kid, that river looks awful cold. Couldn't I jump in someplace else?
Where?
How about the heated pool at the Y?
Curly, stop stalling. It's almost time. The newspaper guys will be here any minute, so get ready. You only got 30 seconds.
Now, wait a minute, Remy. While I'm out there floundering around in that water, what are you going to be doing?
I'll get in the boat, row out, and pull you in.
What boat?
I knew I forgot something. But don't worry, I'll rent one later. All right, Curly, there's 25 seconds to go.
But you haven't got the boat.
20 seconds.
Frankie.
15 seconds.
Oh, Frankie.
Phil, where are you?
Oh, here comes old Killjoy.
Hey, that's Alice. I'm over here, honey.
Oh, the newspaper man called and told me about your crazy plan. Phil, don't you dare jump in that water.
Here's the signal, Curly. Go ahead and jump.
Don't you do it, Phil.
Don't listen to her.
Let's listen to her. She might have a point. Keep talking, lady.
Hey, Curly, the dummy just went in. You gotta go in now.
But, Remley, I don't. Frankie, you pushed me. Oh.
Phil Harris, come out of there. You've got to come out of there.
Why?
You don't know how to swim.
Oh, now she tells me. Help! Help!
Oh, no. Now I'll have to go in and get him.
Oh, what happened? Where am I?
Back in the hotel room. Remember you jumped in the East River?
Oh, yeah. Hey, tell me quick. Is it in the newspapers?
Is it? You're mentioned on the front page of every paper in town.
Oh, good. Then it was worth it. Hey, read it to me, Frankie.
Okay, here you go. Alice Faye, famous screen star, saves unidentified man.
Alice and Phil will be back in just a moment. But first, here's your Rexall family druggist.
One of the most frequent questions I'm asked about Plenamons, Rexall's popular multivitamin capsules, is this. How are Rexall scientists able to guarantee that 2 Plenamon capsules a day give you more than your minimum daily requirement of every vitamin for which such requirements have been established, plus valuable liver concentrate and iron?
Well, they probably have some accurate way of measuring them.
You're right, my friend. Accurate and ingenious. Take, for instance, the spectrophotometer, which is used to determine the potency of vitamin A.
What did you call it?
Spectrophotometer. It's used to measure selected wavelengths of light.
But what has light to do with vitamin A?
Well, pure vitamin A will completely block the ultraviolet rays in a beam of light. So, when Rexall's men of science want to measure the amount or potency of vitamin A in a Plenamon's capsule, they place a solution of its contents in the spectrophotometer. Then ultraviolet rays are directed at this sample, and the amount which the sample will filter out or block is an accurate measurement of the vitamin A contained in the capsule.
You know, I'm beginning to understand what you family druggists are talking about when you tell us...
You can depend on any drug product that bears the name Rexall. Well, it's more than a slogan. It's a fact.
Good health to all from Rexall.
Folks, this is Phil Harris again. The Rexall Drug Company and our entire cast extend congratulations to the Boy Scouts of America, who are celebrating their 40th anniversary this week. 40 years of vital national service and character-building activity. This great youth organization is in the midst of its fundraising campaign. So be a good scout and give generously to the Boy Scouts. Good night, folks.
Good night, everybody.
This program is produced and directed by Paul Phillips. Included in today's cast were John Gibson, Doris Stockfield, and Jack Alderson. The part of Frankie Remley was played by Elliot Lewis, and Julius was played by Walter Tetley. Alice Faye appeared through the courtesy of 20th Century Fox. Next week, we broadcast again from New York. If you're tormented by a cough these winter days, try Cherisote, Rexall's famous cough remedy. Ruby red, pleasant-tasting Cherisote goes after coughs in two ways. First, it soothes the raw and irritated membranes of your throat and bronchial tubes. Second, it helps loosen your cough. Remember, it's a good idea to see your doctor about a cough that hangs on. Ask for Cherisote at the store with the orange and blue Rexall sign on the window. And remember, you can depend on any drug product that bears the name Rexall.
This is NBC, the National Broadcasting Company.
Speaking of radio, the Jack Benny program.
I'd like to start off by presenting Bill Days, Marty Spurzel, Gurney Bell, and Bob Stevens, better known as the Sportsman Quartet. Hiya, fellas. And a happy to you, too. John, have the boys prepared a number?
Come on, boys, let's have it. Old Jack Benny had a farm, E-I-E-I-O, and on this farm tobacco grew, E-I-E-I-O. With a big leaf here and a big leaf there, here a leaf, there a leaf, everywhere a big leaf. Old Jack Benny had a farm, E-I-E-I-O.
Old Jack Benny likes to smoke.
L-S-M-F-T.
Likes to smoke, and that's no joke.
L-S-M-F-T.
With a puff, puff here and a puff, puff there. Here, puff there, puff everywhere, puff, puff.
Old Jack Benny likes to smoke. L-S-M-F-T. There's one thing you must learn. Take a tip from me. It's so round and it's so firm. L-S-M-F-T. With a round here and a firm there. Here a round, there a firm. Everywhere a round firm. That's one thing that you must learn. Take a tip from me.
Old Jack Benny play
L-S-M-F tie.
on his fiddle night and day.
Ay-yi-yi-yi-yi.
With a squeak, squeak here and a squeak, squeak there. Here a squeak, there a squeak, everywhere a squeak, squeak.
Old Jack Benny always plays L-O-U-S-Y. Jackson Benny is so cheap. C-H-E-A-P. Why, he won't spend a dime a week. T-I-G-H-T. With a no-tip here and a no-tip there. Here a no, there a no, everywhere a no-tip. Old Jack Benny is so cheap. C-H-E-A-P.
Mr. Benny, how do you do?
H-E-L-L-O.
I can always laugh on you.
Ho-ho-ho-ho-ho.
With a hoo-hoo here and a hoo-hoo there. Here a hoo, there a hoo, everywhere a hoo-hoo.
Mr. Benny, how do you do? H-E-L-L-O.
Jackie Benny is so sweet.
Sweet as apple pie.
And he's a fella hard to beat.
B-E-N-N-Y.
With a blue eye here and a blue eye there.
With a hoo-hoo here and a hoo-hoo there.
With a no-tip here and a no-tip there.
With a squeak, squeak here and a squeak, squeak there.
With a round here and a firm there.
With a puff, puff here and a puff, puff there.
With a big leaf here and a big leaf there. Here a leaf, there a leaf, everywhere a big leaf. Old Jack Benny had a farm. L-S-M-F-T.
I didn't do the so-called hard sell announcing on the Benny Show, although that was the job I was hired to do originally.
Announcer Don Wilson.
But Jack started having the writers write me into the script. So for a number of years, while I was always referred to as Jack Benny's announcer, even by Jack himself, the serious commercials at the opening and the close of the show were done by other people. I didn't have anything to do with them. But where I came into was the integrated commercial or the comedy commercial in the middle of the show that we did with the Sportsman's Quartet for so many years, so successfully. One of the great things about radio, and it will never be acquired by television because it's impossible, but in the radio days, through the listener's eye, his mind's eye, he lived the show with you. He recreated. As the words came over the loudspeaker, he knew exactly what that individual looked like, although he'd never seen a picture of anybody. But in his own mind's eye, he did. And he knew what the situation was that we were talking about again. The imagination played the part. And that's one thing that young people, kids today, do not have that advantage that those of us that knew radio in the old days, because their imagination is no longer stimulated as it was during the days of radio.
When Jack was first asked to go with Lucky Strike,
writer George Balzer,
American Tobacco Company at first was going to put him with Pall Mall cigarettes.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, we worked about a week on some possible approaches to commercial and so forth for Pall Mall. Then the word came that George Washington Hill, head of American Tobacco Company at that time, wanted to move Jack into his top product, Lucky Strike. And there was a little fear on Jack's part because he had heard that Mr. Hill always got very involved with any programs his product was on. And I guess this was sensed that Jack was a little concerned about that. And word came down from Mr. Hill himself that he would make a deal with Jack. If Jack would stay out of the opening and closing commercial, he would stay out of the program.
Oh.
And that's the way they went along for we were 15 years with Lucky Strike.
Yeah.
So when we did that middle commercial, nobody bothered that. We knew what the sponsor wanted. Or maybe once in a while an agency man would say, it might be better if we didn't say this about, or whatever. And we make the change. It didn't make a difference to us. But the point is, nobody put a finger on our comedy part of the show.
Now, come on, Phil. Let's have a band.
Oh, wait a minute, Jack. Don't you think it's about time we do a commercial?
Don, we're not going to do a commercial this week. Go ahead, Phil.
But, Jack...
Don, I'm running this show. Go ahead, Phil.
But, Jack, the quartet worked on it all week.
I don't care if they did. Go ahead, Phil.
And there's a part in it where you play the violin.
Hold it, Phil. What were you saying, Don?
Well, the Sportsmen are going to do the Poet and Peasant Overture, and there's a place in it where you do a violin solo.
Well, that sounds pretty good. Yeah, I had no idea this was going to happen. Gosh, this is really a surprise.
Some surprise. Unbutton your shirt and take out your violin.
Okay, Don, when do I come in?
Just watch the boys. They'll give you your cue.
Good.
The Poet and Peasant Overture. Take it, boys.
Will always be this vote for me.
Now?
Yes.
Now?
Yes.
Now?
Yes, yes, yes. Good old LSMFT. That's a cigarette for me. My lucky guy. The one you will like. They're from Kentucky, they smoke a lucky. They're so round and firm and fully. They are so fully packed. Yes, you were right. A lucky strike. LSM, oh, LSM, oh, MSMFT, oh, MSMFT, LSMFT, LSMFT,
Of course, Jack was the first one to do the integrated commercials.
Singer Dennis Day.
Way back in the 30s by Jell-O again, and then we went from there to Grape Nuts, and then we went into LSMFT, Lucky Strike, Green Has Gone to War, and all of that. But he always integrated the commercials as part of the program.
One show that stands out in my memory
was one where the sportsmen, this is a storyline, the sportsmen were getting mad because Jack wasn't paying him enough money. And so it was you and Bing Crosby and I think Andy Russell.
Oh, yes,
and
yes.
Maybe it was Dick Hames.
And Dick Hames, yeah. And that's when Crosby said, "Who picked this key, Dennis Day?"
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And then also another time he said, "Hey, Dennis, you better get down where the money is." Because here I was with 3 baritones. Yeah.
Remember when you fired the sportsmen and you hired Bing Crosby and Dick Hames and Andy Russell and Dennis to substitute?
As a gag, you mean?
Right, as a gag.
Yeah.
There was a lot of reaction to that program.
Yeah.
And wasn't it a rare occasion for, I think, Mr. Crosby let loose with his offstage comment on that show? Do you remember?
Oh, yeah. What the hell was that?
Exactly that.
Huh? Is that it?
Exactly
that. Something that you couldn't say that. You could say it now.
Right.
But you couldn't say it then. He said, who the hell picked this key?
Right. Yeah, then he said Dennis Day or something.
Yeah.
$50. Wait a minute, Bing. Andy Russell and Dick Hames are both willing to work for $35. Why do you want $50?
I got 4 kids.
Oh, yes, I read where you're going to put him in the movie.
Yeah, one of them is almost 9. He's been loafing around the house long enough.
Well, look, fellas, I know that you're all good singers individually, and Dennis has been with me a long time, but do you think you can all give me what I want as a quartet? Wait a minute, fellas. That's your idea of a quartet. You're starting off on the wrong foot.
Don't worry, Jack. Don't worry. They're just warming up. Now, do you want to hear what they prepared?
Of course. Now, let's see. 35 and 35 is 70, and 50 is 120. Not bad. All right, Don, let's see if they're worth... let's see what they've got to offer.
Okay, fellas, let's have it. I'll be loving you always with a love that's true. Always. When the things you plan need a helping hand, I will understand. Always. LSNFT. Always.
Now, wait a minute.
That's the smoke for me. Oh, who the hell picked up this key, Dennis Day?
Good, and the commercial was all right, but for my purposes, I got to have something a little more lively. Do you think you can do it?
Yes, sir. You bet.
Why, sure.
I've been smoking Cocos for now 20 years.
No, Bing, that's not what I mean.
Oh, Jack, Bing's right. Every time you sit down to listen to your radio, you're Autolite a lucky.
Autolite, to get the plug in, huh? Now, come on, fella, I want to hear a livelier number. How about it?
Okay, take it, boys. He always sings ragged music to the candle as he swings back and forward in the saddle on a horse. Pretty good horse. While his syncopated head is there to touch the finely meter to the roar of his repeater. How they run, when they hear the bells gun, because the Western folks all know he's a highfalutin, scooting, shooting son of a gun from Arizona. Ragtime cowboy, all that cowboy, LSMFT, fuck, fuck.
The singing I can't complain about, but that time you didn't give me enough commercial and it was just a little bit too fast. I want something in between the 2 numbers that you sang.
Oh, we have another song, Jack. It'll be just exactly what you like.
You have?
Hey, Dick, I'll sing bass this time.
No, I want to sing bass.
I think I ought to sing bass and get down where the money is.
Look, fellas, don't argue about it. Why don't you flip a coin for us?
I think the old man is right. Here, I got a coin. What do you say, Dick? Heads or tails?
Hey, Bing, where'd you get that funny-looking quarter?
I had lunch at the old drugstore.
Fellas, you're holding up the show. Now, this cost me $120. If you don't attend the business, I'll call the whole thing off. Now, come on, let me have your other song.
Yes, Mr. Penny.
Take it, boys.
Nothing could be finer than Goldsboro, Carolina in the morning. Dawn and Phil and Jack go out and take that fine tobacco in the morning. Round and firm and fully.
You left out a word.
Easy on the draw, it's jolly. It is the best tobacco that you have ever saw.
I hear that English, fella.
Hefty, Boone, and Speedy never looked the least
Not
bit
what I want,
seedy in the morning. They're picking and they're planting while they're singing and they're chanting in the morning. LSMF, LSMF, MFFT. That's the lucky strike to smoke for me. Nothing could be finer than Goldsboro, Carolina in the morning.
No, fellas, that's not it. Look.
Smoke the lucky, they will love you in Kentucky.
Wait a minute, boy. That's not what I want. Look, fellas, that's John.
Now give me a lucky strike, one for Pat and one for Mike.
No, wait a minute. That's not what I want. Fellas, wait a minute. Look, wait a minute. Wait a minute!
In the very beginning, when we first started with Jack doing the show at that time out of New York for the first 3 weeks that we were with him.
Writer George Balzer.
We would work with Jack, go up to the Sheraton Netherlands Hotel, because we were all new, and we would write maybe 3 or 4 pages of material. Then the next day we'd go up to the hotel again, and we'd start at the very top and clean that all up and strengthen it. Then we'd write 3 or 4 more pages. Then we'd go from the top again the next day till eventually we would get the script finished. But as time went by and Jack had more and more confidence in us and realized that he didn't have to be that close to the show, he would let us write the show. Then we would meet with him when the whole show was finished to start at the top and go page by page and clean it up, strengthen it, and so forth. And as time went by, Jack had more and more confidence in his people. And he didn't spend too much time on the script except to kind of watch over it, because he had certain things a certain way of doing things, and always supervised that part of it. But it was not one of those situations where you work for a star that's very, very difficult. Mm-hmm. He wasn't. He was wonderful.
I remember coming home from school and getting my milk and cookies and sneaking into the den.
Jack's daughter, Joan.
And sitting in a corner and listening to the 4 writers and the secretary, Jeanette, listening to them write the show. And I can still see them sitting around the room, and it was such great fun. Looking back on it, the seriousness of it and the detail that went into it, from not only every phrase but every word had to be just right.
You talk about the seriousness of it. In other words, this wasn't 5 or 6 people just kidding around. This was a serious project,
no, it was
right?
very serious. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of laughter, but it was also meticulous. And I remember that well. I got stories from strange places because I was having lunch someplace in the country, in New England, with some friends, and I met a man I'd never met before. And, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm writing a book, da-da-da, my father. And he said, oh, Jack Benny is. He said, I remember when I was a young boy, and we lived in the Washington Square area of New York, and it was before they had air conditioning. And he said, I'd be out playing Sunday night with my friends, and he said, it didn't matter how far or wide I ran and traveled, you never missed a word of the Jack Benny Show because everybody's window was open. And
got 10 sacks to go.
Yeah, 10 more sacks, and then we...
Wait. Look, coming up the trail. Mexican bandits. Curtin, quick, take out your gun.
But I haven't got a gun.
What? What did you say, Curtin?
I haven't got a gun.
Ah, that's ridiculous. Who ever heard of a curtain without a rod? Thank you. Hey, that was pretty...
Quiet. Here they come now.
Oh, yeah. Look, Curtin, they're getting off their horses. They're walking this way. Well, we'll just have to try and bluff them. Hey, you. Come here. Are you a Mexican bandit?
Si.
I suppose your men are tough.
See?
Guess they would kill us at a drop of a hat.
See?
What's your name?
Sigh.
Cy?
See?
We were doing a satirization of the Treasure of the Sierra Madre. Picture came out at that time. It was way back 1945 or 6, I don't remember. And Sam Perrin, my partner, myself, we were working together. And since the setting of the sketch we were doing was in Mexico, I said, Sam, I have an idea. I don't know if it's any good or not, but would it be funny if we have Jack, in his character, ask a Mexican a couple of questions to which the answer is sí, so forth. And we decided, yes, that would work. So we put it into this show, expecting to use it just once for whatever it was worth. But it played so well that a little bit later, maybe 3 or 4 weeks, we came across another situation where it just dropped in. And then after a couple of years of just using it more or less as it was, then we began to elaborate on it. And it's still playing somewhere in this world.
Say, I've been looking at our waitress. She's kind of cute. I'm going to try to date her up. Hey, senorita.
Si, senor.
How about a date tonight?
I cannot go with you, senor. I am married. The bartender over there is my husband.
Your husband, eh? Going over and talk to him. Say, are you the bartender?
See?
And you're married?
See?
That gal over there?
See?
What's your name?
Sorry.
Cy?
See?
Have you any children?
6.
6? What are the names?
Sol, Sid, Sade, Sam, Sal, and Junior.
Junior, eh? That must be Cy.
See?
Well, what's your wife's name?
Sue.
Sue?
Si.
We were doing a scene where Jack was walking home from wherever, it doesn't matter, maybe from a rehearsal or from the studio, from whatever. He's walking home. It was a beautiful night, and he passes a bakery shop, and he decides to go in and buy some bakery goods. And while I was watching the rehearsal go on, it was about a 4-minute bit, 3-minute bit. And I'm just watching and watching, and suddenly an idea struck me. So I went up to Jack, and I said, Jack, I got a crazy idea. Maybe it'll work. He says, what is it? I said, but you know where you order the cinnamon rolls along with the other things you're buying? He said, yeah. I said, let's just change that to where Mel calls them Cimarron rolls. He says, yeah, that sounds kind of funny. He says, see what you can do with it. So about 20 minutes later, while we developed a little, threw out the other routine and put in the new routine, and we went on the air with it.
Say, what smells so good? Oh, it's this bakery here. Oh, boy, look at those nice-looking cakes in the window. I think I'll go in and buy something.
Yes, sir. What can I do for you?
Well, I don't know. Everything looks so good. What do you recommend?
Well, we got pies, cakes, donuts, brownies, and Cimarron rolls.
What?
Cimarron rolls.
Don't you mean cinnamon?
That's what I said, Cimarron rolls.
Well, I don't want any of those. Oh, I know. Have you got any lady fingers?
I used to have, but I had to get rid of them. They kept cracking their knuckles.
Well, don't be so smart. I came in here to buy something. Now, let's see. Oh, I know. I'll have a half a dozen donuts, that chocolate cake, and I think I'll have some of those Cimarron rolls.
What?
I said I'll have some of those Cimarron rolls.
Don't you mean cinnamon rolls?
Yeah, give me 6 of them. Now, how much is it altogether?
Oh, let's see. Donuts, chocolate, pastry, and a half a dozen Cimarron rolls. That comes to $1 even.
$1? Well, here you are. Goodbye.
Goodbye, and call again. You're quite a character.
We played it that once. Then we followed up, I believe, was the next week. Then we followed up the next week. And maybe once more.
Come in.
Did you call for room service?
Yes, I want some breakfast. Orange juice, coffee, and let's see, what can I have with the coffee?
Well, we have toast, English muffins, donuts, and Cimarron rolls.
What?
Cimarron rolls.
Look, waiter, bring me some orange juice, coffee, and a Cimarron roll.
Okay, and you're lucky. Yesterday I couldn't have brought you any Cimarron rolls.
Why not?
We were out of cinnamon.
All right, just go get it.
Now, we used it again the following week in the Easter parade. Jack and Mary were walking in the parade.
There are a lot of people out today. You know, it seems like...
Hello, Mr. Barney. Happy Easter.
Oh, happy Easter, Mr.
Don't you remember me? I'm the clerk that waited on you at the bakery shop.
In the bakery shop?
Yeah, don't you remember? You came in and I sold you chocolate cake, some donuts, some pastry, and a half a dozen Cimarron rolls.
Oh, yes. Say, Mary, this is the fellow I told you about. He can't pronounce cinnamon.
I can't, though.
All right, let's hear you say cinnamon.
Cimarron.
You see, Mary?
Look, mister, it's such a simple word. You just pronounce it like it's spelled. Cinnamon.
Cinnamon?
Yes, Cimarron.
Oh, thanks, lady. It's easy when you spell it first.
Yes.
The following week, I believe we were all at Jack Benny's home, presumably for our sketch. That was the setting, and everyone was there for a rehearsal. And this is when we used it again for a third or fourth time.
There's someone at the back door. Rochester, give everybody coffee. I'll answer.
Hello, Mr. Benny.
Oh, the man from the bakery shop. Huh?
Yeah, I got the stuff that you ordered. Some donuts, some chocolate cake, some pastry, and a half a dozen Cimarron rolls.
You still can't pronounce it, can you? Look, it isn't Cimarron, it's cinnamon. Now, let me ask you something. Maybe this will help you pronounce it. How are these rolls made?
Well, you take some flour, sugar, eggs, and do you want to know all the ingredients?
Now, look, it isn't ingredient. It's ingredients. Yes, I want to know all of them, then.
Well, there's flour, sugar, eggs, shortening, and cinnamon.
That's it. Now, look, take your time. Think. Okay. Now, let me hear you say it.
Ingredients.
I don't mean ingredients. I'm trying to get you to say Cimarron. I mean cinnamon.
Why don't you order something else? You drive me nuts.
All right, just give me my stuff. Thanks and goodbye.
Bye.
Jack, who is that?
Oh, that silly guy from the bakery. The fellow who insists upon saying Cimarron rolls. Well, here you are, kid. You can have some of these with your coffee. They're nice and fresh.
Wait a minute, Jack. He's right.
What do you mean he's right?
Well, look at that label on this paper box. These are genuine Cimarron rolls, named after J.P. Cimarron, founder of the Cimarron Baking Company.
What?
These Cimarron rolls should not be confused with ordinary cinnamon rolls, which are made from entirely different ingredients.
Well, Jack, I guess that'll hold you. Hold me nothing. That silly guy had that label printed himself just because he can't say cinnamon. He must be crazy. Hey, that must be the gang now.
Now, for heaven's sake, Jack, don't spoil it. Act surprised.
Don't worry, I'm an actor. Say, I wonder who that is. Come in. Boys, well! Oh, my goodness, what is this? What's going on here?
It's a surprise party for you, Jack.
Yeah, Jackson, a surprise party for our good old boss. For good old me? Gee, fellas, I don't know what to say. Here I was, just spending a quiet evening at home, never dreaming that...
Don't overdo it.
Never dreaming that you fellas were going to throw a surprise party. Just for me.
Shall we give him his present now, Don? No, let's give it to him later.
Give it to me now while I'm sentimental. Hand it over.
That's the fact, Jackson. A speech goes with this. Take it, Don.
Speech. Where's the present?
Jack, on behalf of Mary, Phil, Dennis, Rochester, and myself...
Yes.
And all the boys in the band, Frankie, Charlie, Mitch, Sam, Skippy...
Look, you don't have to name them. Look, I know the boys.
And on behalf of Jell-O and those delicious flavors...
This I can't stop.
Strawberry, raspberry, cherry, orange, lemon, and lime, I would like to present you with this lovely token of our esteem and affection.
Well...
Here you are, Jackson. Open it up. We hope you like it.
Oh, boy. See, here I was sitting at home, never dreaming that... Oh, for Pete's sake. Oh, fellas, you shouldn't have done it.
You like it, Jack?
Like it? Why, it's just what I needed.
What is it, boss?
A can of crab meat. And the big size, too. You know, that stuff is hard to get nowadays. Oh, Rochester, get the can opener. We'll taste it.
There's a can opener with it.
Oh, will wonders never cease. Crab meat.
Well, what are we waiting for? Let's have some fun.
Yeah, for I'm a jolly good fellow. I'm a jolly good fellow. Oh, someone at the door. Come in. Come in. Well, it's a Western Union boy. Hello there.
Hello, stranger.
Well, Slapperman, this is a surprise I didn't figure on. What's the idea of wearing a Western Union uniform?
Quiet. I told my wife I'm dressed it.
Oh, well, what's this all about, Slap? Have you got a message for me?
Have I got a message? A singing telegram delivered in person by Bing Slapperman.
Bing, eh?
With him, it's horses. With me, it's a bicycle.
Well, let's have the greeting, Slap. Go ahead.
All righty. Hit it, boys. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Jack Benny. Oh, sabotage, huh? Happy birthday, Jack Benny. Happy birthday to you.
I don't look 39. Either way you want to go.
Thank you, Mr. Pete.
You're welcome.
The last number of the 18th program in the new Jell-O series, and we'll be with you again next Sunday night at the same time.
Oh, Jack.
Yes, Don?
A telegram just came in. Do you mind if I read it?
No. Who's it from, Don?
Well, it's from Alton Cook, radio editor of the New York World Telegram.
Oh.
It says, congratulations to Jack Benny on the new honors he has won in the World Telegram radio editors poll. Stop. For the fourth consecutive year, he has been voted America's favorite comedian by the radio editors of the United States and Canada. Stop. The Jell-O program was picked as the all-around favorite show for the third successive year, and Don Wilson was voted the best studio announcer. Stop.
Well,
congratulations also to Mary Livingston, Phil Harris, and Kenny Baker, who have maintained their same high standard. Signed, Alton Cook.
Well, thanks, Alton, and all of you fellow radio scribes for this great honor. I also want to thank my listeners, my cast, and my authors. Hey, wasn't that swell, Mary? Come on, let's go.
All right, my dream man.
Good night, folks.
J-E-L-L-O.
We're a little late, so good night, folks.
The Benny program is written by Sam Perrin, Milt Josephsberg, George Balzer, John Tackerberry, Al Gordon, Hal Goldman, and produced and transcribed by Hilliard Marks.
Ladies and gentlemen, Colgate Dental Cream presents The Dennis Day Show, written by Frank Galen, with Dink Trout, Charles Dant of the orchestra, yours truly, Vern Smith, and starring our popular young singer in A Day in the Life of Dennis Day. Twice a day and before every date, use Colgate Dental Cream to clean your breath while you clean your teeth. Here's Dennis singing Linda.
When I go to sleep, I never count sheep. I count all the charms about Linda. And lately it seems in all of my dreams I walk with my arms about Linda. Ah, what good does it do me? For Linda doesn't know I exist. Can't help feeling gloomy. Think of all the lovin' I've missed. We pass on the street, my heart skips a beat. I say to myself, hello, Linda. If only she'd smile, I'd stop her a while. Then I would get to know Linda. What miracle miracles still happen. And when my lucky star begins to shine, with one lucky break I'll make Linda mine. Oh, miracles still happen. And when my lucky star begins to shine, with one lucky break I'll make Linda mine.
Colgate Dental Cream cleans your breath while it cleans your teeth.
No other toothpaste does a better job of cleaning your teeth than Colgate Dental Cream. For Colgate Dental Cream has a safe polishing agent that cleans your teeth both gently and thoroughly, brings out their natural sparkle and beauty.
And scientific tests prove that Colgate Dental Cream cleans your breath while it cleans your teeth. Yes, actual scientific tests prove conclusively that in 7 out of 10 cases, Colgate Dental Cream instantly stops unpleasing breath that originates in the mouth.
Colgate Dental Cream is famous for its wonderful wake-up flavor, too. Nationwide tests of leading toothpastes prove that Colgate Dental Cream is preferred for flavor over other brands tested.
So try Colgate Dental Cream to bring out the natural sparkle and beauty of your teeth. For a wake-up flavor you'll thoroughly enjoy.
And use Colgate Dental Cream twice a day and before every date to clean your breath while you clean your teeth.
Well, just about the last person in the whole world you'd suspect of being up to something devilish is the husband of our young hero's landlady. Loyal, dutiful, steady, fearful Mr. Anderson. But his daughter Mildred has been far from satisfied with her father's behavior during the past week, and so this morning she's decided to broach the subject to her boyfriend, Dennis Day, in his room.
Dennis, what are you doing?
Oh, listening to the radio.
To the radio? Oh, I don't hear anything.
I know. Fred Allen's on.
Well, turn it off. I want to talk to you.
Okay.
Dennis, have you noticed anything odd or unusual about Dad lately?
Your dad? No, Mildred. Why?
Well, he's been acting strangely all week.
Gee, really?
He hasn't been near Mother for whole days at a time.
And besides that, he's been acting strangely, huh?
We hardly ever see him anymore. By dinner, he barely gets through the first course before he disappears somewhere. I don't understand it.
Me either. He certainly should be used to the food by now.
It isn't the food. My father's up to something.
Oh, gosh, you really think so?
I do. Dennis, you don't suppose... Oh, no. No, it's impossible.
Well, that's silly. Nothing is impossible. What were you thinking of?
Another woman.
Beg pardon, I was wrong.
Of course, it's utterly fantastic.
Ridiculous.
Still...
Yeah, it's spring, and you know what they say about young men and their fancy.
But Dad's not a young man, Dennis.
Well, sometimes even his type runs across something fancy.
It might be an affair d'amour?
Oh, I don't know whether she's French or not.
But you do think he might be interested in another woman. Oh, Dennis, I can't believe it.
Me either, really.
But, Dennis, we've simply got to know the truth.
Yeah.
If it's what we suspect, we might be able to break it up before Mother hears about it. Think what'll happen to her if she finds out about my father.
I wouldn't want to be in his shoes either.
Now, look. Daddy's in the next room. You're going in there and find out what he's up to.
You mean right now?
Yes, only for heaven's sakes, be tactful. If you're not subtle about it, he won't tell you a thing.
Okay, I'll kind of ease into it slowly. I can be pretty sly, you know.
Oh, good. I'll wait here for you. Go on now.
Morning, Mr. Anderson.
Morning, my boy.
What do you think of the Russian situation, Mr. Anderson?
The Russian situation? Why, it's pretty complicated.
Yeah, and do you know that half the population of Russia is women?
Naturally.
How's your love life lately?
My what?
Mr. Anderson, I'm going to put my cards right on the table. I suspect you of going out with another woman.
And Dennis, have you ever seen me with another woman?
No, sir.
No. Have you ever heard me mention another woman's name or seen me even look at another woman at any time?
No, sir.
Well, then?
Where are you hiding her?
I'm afraid we're discussing a pleasant impossibility. Now, believe me, it isn't so.
No? Then where do you rush off to every night after dinner?
To the public library.
Aha, now we're getting somewhere. A beautiful librarian, huh?
Dennis, in the Weaverville Library, the only thing you find well stacked are the books.
Well, what do you do at the library, then?
Well, now, if you'll promise me to keep it a secret, I'll tell you.
Oh, sure, I promise.
All right. Now, I've been looking up some old newspaper files. You see, I've been writing a story.
A story?
That's right. I've already sent it to True Story magazine, and they want to publish it.
Gee, what's it called?
The Romance of Herbert Anderson.
Fiction, huh?
You have just put your finger on the horrible problem that I now find myself faced with. You see, True Story magazine positively insists that every word they print is the absolute truth.
Oh, and you didn't make your romance true?
No, I made it interesting. Now the magazine is sending a man here to authenticate my story before they publish it.
Well, can he find anything false? I mean, just what did you say?
Well, I described myself as a man of 50 with a desirable wife.
You're dead.
I could get by with that, but you see, as an added touch, I mentioned our children.
Oh, one daughter could hardly be considered children, huh?
Exactly.
Well, maybe you could say it was a little mistake that you lost count.
Well, hardly, because I described the other child in considerable detail. A boy, I said it was. A brilliant boy who less than a year ago had received his doctorate from Harvard.
Gee, you are in a mess. When will this fellow from True Story be here?
Well, this afternoon, according to the wire I got.
This afternoon? Gosh, even if Mrs. Anderson presented you with a son right now, he could never get through Harvard in time.
Well, not a hard school like Harvard, no.
Well, let's not give up yet, Mr. Anderson. There's got to be a way out of this thing somehow.
Oh, I hope so.
Now, don't you worry. I've got a brain and Mildred's got a brain, and between our two brains, she's sure to think of something.
So that's all it is.
Oh, I think your father's in pretty big trouble, Mildred.
Yes, but there's a way to get him out. That is, if you're willing.
I knew you'd think of an idea. What's this one? A state or a federal offense?
Well, it's very simple. Daddy has to produce a son for the man from True Story magazine. All right, you're the son.
Me? Mildred, this thing's got to be realistic.
But it is realistic. You're the right age, aren't you?
Yes.
Then you're the son he wrote about. A brilliant young man with a college degree.
It is here that I feel we are veering toward fantasy.
Nonsense. Now, look, you told me the boy was a doctor.
Yeah.
All right. You go down to Dr. Hopkins' office.
Huh?
I'll send the man from True Story there, and when he arrives, he finds you wearing Dr. Hopkins' coat and sitting at his desk.
He also finds Dr. Hopkins beating my brains out, doesn't he?
Oh, no, because Dr. Hopkins won't be there. Somebody's made him go out on an emergency.
Who?
You.
Oi.
All you have to do is tell the doctor someone's desperately ill. Pretend you're in a panic.
Oh, that I can handle easily.
Oh, good. And when the man from True Story gets there, you're the doctor, see?
But, Mildred, really,
you can do it. Forget right now about being a soda clerk and start thinking about your new career.
I am. Goodbye, Willoughby's drugstore. Hello, Alcatraz.
Come in.
Dr. Hopkins.
Yes, boy, what is it?
An emergency, Doctor. My sister.
Your sister?
Yeah, she's doubled up in agony. Her face has turned green, her teeth are falling out, and she's got a temperature of 109.
What?
Yeah, we think she's sick.
Good gracious. Has she been in this condition long?
Since January.
January? Why do you come to me now?
Well, today she started to complain. Could you go right away, Doctor?
Yes, of course. What's your address?
120 Cedar Road. It's out in the middle of the woods, 10 miles from here.
Good heavens. How could you have picked such an out-of-the-way spot?
It wasn't easy.
Gracious, I'd better call the hospital and have them drive me over in the ambulance.
An ambulance?
Of course, yes. The driver will find the place.
Doc, it's beautiful out. Why don't you walk?
Don't be a fool. I'll go over to the hospital and pick up the ambulance there. And you stay here and watch the office for me till I get back, understand?
Yes, sir. Gee, it worked like a charm. This must be one of my abnormal days. Oh, gosh, what do I do now? Maybe it's Mildred. Hello? Yes, this is Dr. Hopkins' office, but... What? Your wife is about to have a baby, and what should you do? Well, humor her, I guess. Let her have it. Mister, what a thing to say. You ought to have your phone ripped out.
Did you get rid of the doctor?
Yeah.
The man from True Story's on his way down the hall. Quick, put on that white coat and put the stethoscope around your neck. Hurry now.
Okay.
Oh, there he is. I'll sit behind the screen where he can't see me.
Come in.
How do? I'm Mr. Weems of True Story magazine. They told me I could find Mr. Anderson's son here.
Yes, I'm Mr. Anderson's son. Dennis Day is the name.
Dennis Day? Your father's name is Herbert Anderson and yours is Dennis Day?
Yeah, he didn't want people to call me Junior.
That explains your first name, but what about your last?
Well, Daddy's a fellow takes no chances at all.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I want to welcome you to my office and assure you that...
Your office?
Sure.
On the front door it says Dr. Hopkins. How come?
Let's let that one ride, shall we? I may think of something later.
Better come up with it now. I have a feeling I may not be here long.
Well, I just bought Dr. Hopkins' practice, and I haven't had time to take his name off the door yet. Hey, pretty good, huh?
Yes. But why did you buy a medical practice?
Oh, you know me, the man in white. It says right in Dad's story that I got my doctorate a year ago.
Yes, but your doctorate wasn't an M.D. It was a law degree from Harvard Law School.
A law degree? You mean I'm a...
Try to guess.
A lawyer?
Good boy.
Yeah, of course I'm a lawyer. I was just having a little joke, that's all. Pretty funny, don't you think? You bet, yes, sir.
If you're a lawyer, why have you got on that white coat with a stethoscope around your neck?
Oh, that's easy. When I chase ambulances, I like to dress for it.
I see. And all this equipment? What would a lawyer want with an X-ray machine?
Oh, you'd be surprised how it turns up the hidden clauses in contracts.
And I suppose you use that examination table when you examine witnesses.
Yeah, it helps me weed out the habeas corpuses from the corpus delicti.
It's kind of fun, isn't it?
I hope so.
You don't expect me to swallow this, do you, Mr. Day?
I'd be terribly grateful.
Well, you do have some awfully novel ideas for a lawyer.
Yeah, they come when I least expect them.
You and Clarence Darrow, eh?
No, I like to work alone.
Who has a better right? Well, Mr. Day, True Story magazine, as you know, prints nothing but the truth. So until I can check on this matter elsewhere, I suggest you plead nolo contendere, so to speak.
Oh, I will. I'll plead just what you said.
You're not familiar with that common legal phrase?
I'm a Harvard man, Mr. Weems. We'd hardly learn common phrases there.
Yes, naturally. But you do understand Latin, of course.
Oh, of course. I'm simply Odelay with Attenlay.
You are indeed loaded with something or other. Well, goodbye, Mr. Day. Let's not do it again real soon, shall we?
Dennis, is he gone?
Yeah. You know something, Mildred? I have a feeling he didn't believe a word I said.
I'm afraid you're right. But there's nothing we can do now but hope for the best. Don't lose confidence.
Oh, I won't. But just in case, when you get home tonight, would you bake me a cake with a file in it?
Oh, no, Dennis, you must.
Uh-oh, he's back again. Quick, behind the screen.
Okay.
Come in. Now, look, Mr. Weems,
Stand still, Doc. This ain't a water pistol I got in my hand. I need a doctor.
But...
You're coming with me, Doc. The boss needs you fast, and he needs you bad. A car just went past him, and now he's got 2 bullets in his stomach.
Gosh, I realize that drivers are always thinking up new things to do to pedestrians, but...
Come on, get your things on, Doc. I ain't fooling.
No, wait. You're making a mistake. I'm not a doctor.
No? Then what are you doing in this office with a white coat on and a stethoscope around your neck?
Oh, I was trying to convince someone that I was a lawyer. Sounds weak, huh?
Doc, I'm warning you for the last time. The boss needs someone to pick those bullets out of him.
And if I refuse?
You go anyway. Then you and the boss can pick the bullets out of each other.
I see what you mean. You're an excellent salesman.
Thank you. Now, are you coming?
Yes, sir. Only, what if I weren't a doctor?
I'd blow your brains out, mister.
Call me Doc.
Come on. We wasted enough time. Our hideout is the old Foster place on Pine Hill. Here's your little black bag. Now, come on, let's go.
Yes, sir.
Oh, Dennis, my poor darling. I've got to do something. But what? They're killing those horrible men. He'll be dead. And that fellow he takes the bullets out of, he won't do well either. Oh, I just got to do something. The Foster place on Pine Hill.
Well, here he is, Chief.
Oh, good work, Sam. Oh, Doc, you're just in time. These bullets went awful deep in my stomach.
They did?
Yeah, my head is split.
Boy, that is deep.
You better get right to work, Doc. I can't stand this pain much longer.
Look, mister, at the risk of my life, there's something I got to tell you.
Shut up, you, and get busy if you want to live. I'll take his pulse.
Huh?
You heard me. Take his pulse.
Really, I don't think we should remove it in his condition.
What are you talking about? All you got to do is feel it.
Oh.
Well, what are you waiting for? Go ahead and feel his pulse.
Yes, sir. If you'll find it, I'll be glad to feel it.
Oh, never mind the pulse, Doc. A blood count is more important anyway.
A blood count?
Yeah, go ahead. Take one.
Oh, I don't have to. I can tell without counting them that you have fewer than you used to.
You know something, boss? I think you're in trouble.
You're telling me. But the heat's on, Sam. We've got to get out of here. Oh, go after those bullets, Doc.
I'll tell you what. Let's leave them in. A lot of iron and bullets, you know, and the system requires iron to...
A fine time to be making jokes. Go on, examine his stomachs and see if you can locate them slugs.
Okay. Steady now, Chief.
Ow!
Ticklish?
You fool! He can't stand that. Come on, give him an anesthetic.
An anesthetic?
Yeah, sure. You got something to put him to sleep, ain't you?
Well, I could read to him if you want me to.
Are you crazy? You must have brought some ether with you in that bag. Let me see. Yeah, sure, here it is.
Gee, I'm glad I remembered.
Okay. Now I'll pour some on my handkerchief and give it to him. There, that ought to do it. All right now, Doc. You call for your instruments, and I'll hand them to you.
But I...
Call for your instruments.
Okay. Knife. Smelling salts.
You're going to give him smelling salts?
They're for me.
Well, see that you don't need them, understand? Now, What else do you need?
Forceps.
Forceps.
Band-Aid.
Band-Aid?
Gotta leave him looking neat afterwards, don't we?
For crying out loud, Doc. Quit talking like a fool, will you, and start operating.
Really, mister, look.
Did you hear me?
Yes, sir, but I can't operate on this man. I'm not
Start operating.
Yes, sir.
Hey, what's that? Open up here! Open up in there! Okay, you. Stand where you are and get your hands up. The cops.
Gee, just like David Harding, counter-spy.
Dennis, are you all right?
Mildred and Mr. Weems. Sure, I'm all right.
Well, what do you know? Sam McNulty and Scarface Fudnick. We've been wanting these boys a long time. Congratulations, Doc.
Well, so you've given up law and taken to medicine again, eh, Mr. Day?
Gee, Mr. Weems, I bet you think I'm flighty, don't you?
He knows you aren't a lawyer, Dennis, or even Daddy's son.
Yes, and of course we can't use Mr. Anderson's story.
Oh?
But it's quite possible that we can print the story of how you captured these gangsters single-handed.
Gosh, really?
Yes. Only remember, Mr. Day, this is True Story Magazine. We want the plain truth and only the truth.
Oh, sure. Well, it was like this. I was all alone in the doctor's office when all of a sudden 10 men armed with Tommy guns and cutlasses jumped me. I fought like a demon and I was winning easily when all of a sudden one of them whips out an atom bomb. Well, naturally, I couldn't do much against that, so I waited my chance and then I went after the whole army of them. I hit one guy with a left, another with a right, and a third I didn't know.
No, the story of how Dennis Day routed the gangsters will not be found in True Story magazine. But the story of Dennis's life, entitled Okay, I'll Talk, definitely is in the current issue. True Story magazine on sale at all newsstands.
Dennis Day will be back in just a moment with a song. But first, here's a fact worth knowing.
Colgate Dental Cream cleans your breath while it cleans your teeth.
And that's important, as our Colgate players are going to demonstrate for you. Our curtain goes up on a rain-soaked college boy who doesn't seem to know it's raining. Raining cats and dogs, in fact. A friend comes up and says,
Come on, snap out of it, Tom. Don't you know enough to come in out of the rain?
Well, what difference does it make, pal? I'm all wet anyway, according to Sal. She just read me a thunder and lightning act that was a beaut.
Oh, so your sugar left you standing in the rain, did she?
That's about it. But when it comes to telling me why, well, Sal's the original Miss Clam.
Well, rain in the face, I'll tell you something. What you want to do is make a dash for your dentist, Tom.
And here's what Tom found out.
Scientific tests have proved that in 7 out of 10 cases, Colgate Dental Cream instantly stops unpleasing breath that originates in the mouth. What's more, Colgate Dental Cream's safe polishing agent brings out the natural sparkle of your teeth, cleans them thoroughly and safely.
Yes, Colgate Dental Cream cleans your breath while it cleans your teeth.
And Colgate Dental Cream is famous for its wonderful wake-up flavor, too. In fact, nationwide tests of leading toothpastes prove that Colgate Dental Cream is preferred for flavor over other brands tested.
So, to clean your teeth thoroughly and safely, for a wake-up flavor everyone enjoys, use Colgate Dental Cream. Remember, Colgate Dental Cream cleans your breath while it cleans your teeth. With Charles Dant and the orchestra, here's Dennis to sing the current favorite, I Want to Thank Your Folks.
I express how I feel, confess and reveal my love. I want to thank your folks for making you the dream that you are, and tell them what a swell job they've done of raising the one I love. Do you recall the birthday party they gave you when we were just a couple of kids? Well, suppose they hadn't thought of inviting me to see what I love dreams come true. But, darling, to be perfectly frank, I really must thank your phone. Do you recall the birthday party they gave you when we were just a couple of kids? Well, suppose they hadn't thought of inviting me to see what I'd have missed, and here's my thanks to you for making all my love dreams come true. But, darling, to be perfectly frank, I really must thank your
Good night, everybody.
Dennis Day can be heard with Jack Benny every Sunday. And be sure and be with us again next week for another Dennis Day program. More songs, more adventures in the life of our star, Dennis Day. Meanwhile, be sure to use Colgate Dental Cream to clean your breath while you clean your teeth.
Lovely Joan Bennett is another famous Hollywood star to rave over Cashmere Bouquet Beau Cake, the new cake makeup sensation. Joan Bennett says, I'm wild over Cashmere Bouquet Beau Cake. So clever, so practical, with a makeup sponge in its own moisture-proof compartment right in the compact. Yes, Cashmere Bouquet Beau Cake, for the first time, brings you the makeup sponge right inside the case. Buy the new cake makeup sensation, Cashmere Bouquet Beau Cake, at cosmetic counters today.
Ladies, keep right on saving used pants and oils. Turn them into your dealer and he'll pay you more for your used pants and oils. Mrs. Burns-Smith reminding you that daylight saving time becomes effective in certain areas on April 27th. This may change the time at which the Dennis Day program is heard in your community. Please check your local paper for the time at which this program will be heard next week and each week thereafter.
This is NBC, the National Broadcasting Company.
Starring Mr. and Mrs. Ronald Colman.
Good evening, this is Ronald Colman.
And Benita Colman.
Inviting you to join us again on the campus of Ivy College.
And now, the Halls of Ivy. Ivy College, that is, in the town of Ivy, USA. It's 5 o'clock of a dark winter's afternoon, and the campus is in a soggy state. The trees are dripping, the ivy is drooping, and only the sturdier students are seen sloshing along in the mud-stained snow. All of which seems to have had no effect on Dr. William Todhunter Hall, president of Ivy, who returns home to number 1 faculty row in a buoyant and triumphant mood, as his delighted and delightful wife, Victoria, says,
You seem mighty perky on such a murky day, darling. Come on, tell me, what's the good news?
Good news. As a matter of fact, I had a perfectly abysmal day. I was needled, nettled, and besieged by all kinds of carping petitioners. But however well fortified I may be to cope with normal grievances, I have an Achilles heel for whimsy on a busy day.
A whimsical heel. It sounds enchanting.
Well, it's a fair description of young Jethro Matthews III.
Oh, yeah, him. He's the one who made the big fuss with the Dramatic Society about the scenery being too realistic. He also had a dandy suggestion that we do Death of a Salesman as a ballet.
Yeah, he's trying very hard to be consistently unconventional. He's a bright boy, but he's failing in his poetry course. It seems he hasn't attended any classes recently.
Why not?
Oh, he said he could learn far more about poetry by contemplating the vistas of nature than the visage of Professor Heaslip.
Well, he's got a good point there. But he's young, he'll outgrow it.
Oh, yes. As a matter of fact, I was intensely individual myself when I was his age.
I'll bet you were a beautiful baby.
Ravishing, darling. But my critics were divided into two schools. One believing that I was just a mild eccentric, the other that I was a boring poseur. Both views were accurate. I was what is known in those days as a bohemian.
Oh, I know, yeah. Sit around in a smoky room and try to shock each other.
Yes. That's right. Yes. Adolescents from 20 to 70 who sit on the floor of what they call a studio with candles stuck in the necks of bottles. They have Schoenberg on the record player, which cannot be heard, of course, because of the furious talk about music and the pity for the poor, grubby businessmen. The men who made the candles, manufactured the bottles, built the record player, recorded the Schoenberg, and were idiots enough to forego the last 3 months' rent on the studio. Bohemians, making a fetish of the unconventional. Nonsense. Ridiculous. Wonderful, wasn't it? What a lot of fun we had.
You talked yourself right back into it, didn't you?
How did I get to be such a qualified authority on eccentric behaviorism? Did I make any sense?
Oh, certainly. You sounded like a professional psychiatrist.
Psychologist.
Psychiatrist, psychologist, what's the difference?
The same as between a poor student in the library and a rich one in the malt shop. One studies and one treats.
You know, this is the first time I've ever understood the difference. But to get back to your day at the office, what other dreadful things made you feel so good?
Well, for one thing, Professor Fisher is probably still wondering what happened to him.
Professor Fisher at the law school, what'd you do to him?
Well, I asked him whether he didn't agree with me that it was high time we had another look at the bylaws of the Student Legislative Council. He seized upon my suggestion, turned it into an indictment, and launched into a prosecutor's harangue.
I'll bet you put the old harangue-o-tang back in his cage.
No, but I managed to turn the case of Fisher versus Hall into the case of Hall versus Fisher. Oh, I gave him a run for his money. You should have seen his face.
You really poured it on, huh?
There was really no difference of opinion to start with, but he worked himself up into a hopeless contradiction, which I pounced upon with alacrity. And then, Vicky...
Louise, I'll get the door, darling. Don't stop. Now, you were pouncing. Go ahead. Pounce.
I used an old trick of forensics. As a champion and ruthless debater in my day, come in.
Excuse me, Dr. Hall.
Is there someone to see me, Louisa?
Yes, I told him to wait. The stout one who talks like a birthday card. Yes, it couldn't be anybody else. It's Professor Heaslip. Oh, he sounds as though he were reading off tombstones. That's the one, Mrs. Hall.
Well, you'd better send him in, Louisa.
Yes, sir. And, Mrs. Hall, I told him not to bother because it's working now, but he wanted $1 anyway. Well, Professor Heaslip? No, he's in the hall. I sent the other one away. I'll tell him you'll see him, Dr. Hall. Sorry, have you any idea who wanted the $1?
Not yet, darling. In due time. We can't rush Louisa. With her, small phrases are tributaries that finally join a river filled with the flotsam and jetsam of facts, which will eventually flow out into the sea of knowledge.
Well, salutations, Skipper. Greetings, ladies. My apologies, but I couldn't help overhearing. You were speaking of the sea of knowledge. What a proper subject for a conversation in the presidential mansion. And pray tell, what intellectual voyage had you embarked upon at this hour of twilight?
We were just wondering about a man who wanted $1.
What? Oh, yes, Jason in search of the golden fleece. What a delightful sense of humor you have, fair lady.
Yeah, well, with $1 where it is, we need one.
Yes, a cogent observation. Skipper, I just stopped by to return your book.
My book? Oh, yes, the Christopher Fry play. Thank you, Professor. Did you enjoy it?
Oh, I've read it with some interest, particularly because of the flurry it has caused in certain literary circles.
I liked it.
Well, fair lady, it is pleasant in a way, but I found it much too wordy and flowery for my more austere tastes. Didn't you, Skipper?
No.
Oh.
No, I enjoyed its richness of language, but then I like words and flowers.
Yes, of course. A very gifted dramatist. Oh, by the way, Skipper, I stood up for you last evening.
You did? Well, thank you.
Oh, yes, Skipper, I took up the cudgels in your defense.
Oh, really? Oh, what about?
Oh, nothing serious, mind you. There was a discussion, and when certain, shall I say, impetuous statements were made, I couldn't resist raising my voice slightly in protest.
Well, that was jolly nice of you.
You spoke, fair lady?
Yeah.
Well, I'd appreciate knowing what these statements were, Professor. They might be true.
Oh, I hardly think so, Skipper. Just the irresponsible prattle of an idle tongue. What could be more ridiculous than to even suggest that you couldn't take time to attend to the practical problems of a university?
Are you asking, Professor, or is that what was said? I mean, is it a quote or a question?
Well, fair lady, perhaps I shouldn't have brought this up.
Yes, but who would suggest that...
Oh, dear, look at the time. It's nearly dinner. I must be off. Thank you again for the fireplace, Skipper. We must sit down and have a real discussion on it one day.
Yes, I think one day would be... well, goodbye, Professor.
Yes, goodbye, Professor.
Goodbye, fair lady. And, Skipper, I wouldn't give it a moment's thought if I were you. It was just that I was so surprised about Agnes. I mean, Dean Huxley. I didn't know she felt that way about you. Well, I must fly.
There goes an idle tongue full of irresponsible prattle, if ever I heard one.
Well, you can't take him seriously. As my father used to say, a fool's tongue is always long enough to cut his own throat.
As my mother used to say, it's better to plant a seed of goodwill than to put a crumb in another man's bed.
Very good, Vicky.
Yeah, I wish he'd stop saying fair lady. Fair lady. Sounds like a bus conductor. And the way he backed off and changed the subject when you stood up to him about the Fry play, huh?
Well, Heaslip is a man of many sentences and a few convictions. And what did he mean about Dean Huxley? What nonsense.
Yes. Johnny, you never finished telling me about how you vanquished Professor Fisher.
Fisher? Oh, well, now, what I think of it, I shouldn't take too much credit because I had him from the very beginning. Realizing the weakness in his case, I could afford to bide my time and do nothing.
Well, but you said you pounced on him.
Oh, I didn't really pounce. I just made a small point. It really wasn't such a... You know, it is surprising, Agnes Huxley. I've always had a great personal regard for our Dean of Women, and, well, I felt there was a mutual...
Of course, darling. You know she likes you. Now, come on. Now, what about Fisher?
Well, what could I have done or said that would have made her change?
But who says she's changed? There's nobody on the staff more loyal to you.
After all, there's nothing surprising about her saying I didn't have time to attend to all the problems of a university. The president of any college has to budget his activities by the very complex nature of the...
Yes, come in, Louisa. Excuse me, Dr. Hall.
Oh, yes, Louisa.
I forgot to tell you she called this morning, said she couldn't make it. And Mrs. Hall, he said the dollar was for coming over here. And I told him you don't pay for just visiting without fixing it. Certainly not. Fixing what? Oh, don't worry, it's working now. And Dr. Hall, she said she was sorry.
She?
But it's not worth $1, Miss Hall. I wouldn't pay it for
Oh, no, indeed.
I'd gladly pay $1 just to find out what he came to fix. $2.
$3.50.
$4.75.
Any other bids? Going at $4.75 to the beautiful lady with the blue eyes. So, wrap it up, Louisa.
I don't know what you're talking about, Dr. Hall. You can be very confusing at times.
I'm afraid I didn't catch the name of who it was that was sorry she couldn't make it and what it was she was sorry she couldn't make.
You didn't? It was the committee meeting. Miss Dean Huxley.
Dean Huxley? You mean she can't attend the faculty advisors' meeting tomorrow night?
I wouldn't know. Said she wouldn't be there at all. Seems to me people should leave plugs in where they belong. Icebox didn't work all morning. Well, I have my work to do.
Hardy, I think I've got it. Louisa knocked the plug out of the refrigerator and didn't know it. Called the repairman, and by the time he got here, she discovered her mistake.
It's the first time I can remember Dean Huxley missing an important committee meeting. Of course, there needn't be any connection. I mean, this couldn't have anything to do with her criticism of me. Do you think?
Oh, she's probably just swamped with studio problems. She works awfully hard, Toddy.
Yes, I realize that. A very capable woman. And her department is rather short-staffed. I wonder... Yes, that could be it. She did say she needed another assistant. But that was a year ago, and it was the Board of Governors who turned down the request. I never thought you would hold me personally responsible for that.
Well, I'm still waiting, darling.
You're waiting? What for, Vicky?
Well, won't you please tell me how you gave Professor Fisher the coup de grace?
Oh, yes, Professor Fisher. Yes, well, I'm afraid I exaggerated a bit. It wasn't really a conquest, you know. Just a minor skirmish. As a matter of fact, I'm not sure I scored my point at all.
Oh, darling. Now, don't let Heaslip's forked tongue spoil your day. Well, you know what a fine woman Agnes Huxley is. You've always said there wasn't a more efficient and understanding dean of women anywhere.
Yes, and that's why I'm perturbed, Vicky. When such an able executive as Dean Huxley suddenly leaves a cryptic message that she can't attend a most important meeting, which, of course, has nothing to do with what she thinks of my administrative ability, or has it? Well, I didn't know I was so lacking in understanding of the female faculty. Perhaps I should let the male staff alone for a while and concentrate on the distaff.
As we return to the halls of Ivy, it's noon the next day, and Mrs. Hall has just returned from town when she's intercepted by her housekeeper, Louisa.
It's none of my business, Mrs. Hall. I got that recipe for the clam chowder from my great aunt in Savannah. He always liked it before. Nobody else I know makes it the same. And he just said, no, thank you. That's all.
Well, I wouldn't take that too seriously, Louisa. Perhaps Dr. Hall didn't feel like soup today.
Not that I believe in keeping a good recipe a secret. It's the bell pepper makes it. I'll mash and strain it first.
Yes. Well, thank you. I'll call you if I want anything.
All right. But mind how you walk. I got a cake in the oven. Looks good, too. My sister says that's why she won't own a vacuum cleaner. Huh? Says you can't pull a straw out of it to stick in the cake and see if it's done.
Careful. I was going to practice jumping over the sofa, but it can wait. Hello, darling.
Vicky, I believe I have it. It wasn't a year ago when the Board of Governors refused to add another assistant. It was at least 6 months before that. Remember when the delegations from those two sororities came to see me about a pledge they both claimed?
Yes. And you told them they were big girls now and to work it out for themselves. And, darling, Louisa's got a cake in the oven. If you must keep pacing, please do it on tiptoe.
I can't pace on tiptoe, darling. It'd look ridiculous. But, you see, Dean Huxley must have found out that the girls had come to me instead of to her. And even with the most intelligent of women, those things rankle, you know.
She would never hold a thing like that against you or anything else. As a matter of fact, I just ran into her an hour ago.
You did? What did she say?
Oh, the usual hello and how are you, and she was in a terrible hurry, so we didn't actually...
Well, you mean she didn't speak to you?
I didn't say that.
Well, I don't want to put a false construction on a minor incident, but it would surprise me if she held it against you, too.
Daddy, if I weren't the president's wife, and I thought nobody would recognize me, I'd march over to Heaslip's house or class or wherever that windbag is at the moment and give him a good punch in the nose for carrying tales. You know me, one round Cromwell.
Well, Vicky, I have none of the conventional prejudices against women in executive positions, but I've found that they have a tendency to emotionalize issues, to take the personal rather than the objective point of view. I can understand how Dean Huxley has misconstrued my action in the sorority matter as a peremptory assumption of authority, but I'm sorry that she allowed this to influence her judgment. I take this committee meeting tonight. Well, she should be there. Why isn't she coming?
Well, maybe a cousin's sick, or if she's got a cousin, or possibly she's been evicted from her house and has to move tonight. I mean, there could be a dozen reasons. Maybe she's sitting on a jury. There are a dozen reasons right there.
Whatever it is, why did she just leave a message without any explanation? Now, why did she complain to Heaslip of all people? Why, if she had a complaint, didn't she come directly to me? Vicky, there's only one thing to do.
And I've already done it.
What?
Well, when I met Dean Huxley, I said, "Hello, Agnes," I said. And then I said, "If you don't mind the fib, Dr. Hall said he would like to see you." So, she said she'd come over this afternoon. Do you mind?
Mind? Of course not. Oh, any further postponement would only widen the breach. However, I shall have to find a delicate way to remind her of the danger of letting small grievances grow into crises. And I must firmly recommend that in the future, if she have any protest, she give me the original, not the duplicate. I prefer not to be a pawnbroker of protests, dealing in second-hand complaints.
Well, you have no idea, Agnes, how happy I am you were able to make it this afternoon.
Well, you know, Victoria, I was almost ashamed to come here.
What?
Dr. Hall, I've been having a guilty feeling about you.
Oh? Well, why should you feel guilty about me, Dean Huxley?
Well, I haven't been to see you.
I don't know how you find time to see yourself with all the desperate, dramatic crises of charming and slightly distraught young ladies who crowd under your wing.
Yes, I sometimes feel like a mother hen with her peeping chicks. But I don't know why I should complain. That's my job.
But it's your prerogative to complain. Without protest, there can be no progress. And without constant challenge, we would all doze on a featherbed of complacency. No, Dean Huxley, I must insist. You have every right to complain.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Hall. But, complain about what?
Well, if you haven't got a complaint handy, Agnes, think fast. Make one up. Now's your chance.
Oh, no, I'm sure Dr. Hall has enough on his hands without my small problems. I may be a mother hen, but he's running the whole chicken ranch.
Well, I try to do what I can, but with the multitude and variety of my duties and obligations, many of which, of course, extend beyond the campus itself, I'm left with only limited time to attend to what are sometimes called the practical problems of a university. So I can have no sensitivity about anyone who may criticize my particular allocation of interests and energies and...
Dr. Hall, what on earth do you mean? I've never known you to refuse to listen to any problems that came up here at Ivy. Honestly, I don't know how you find the time to do it.
Well, I've always believed that the primary obligation of an administrator is accessibility. That's why there is no door to my office in the administration building.
William said that either he or the door would eventually become unhinged, so he beat the gun and took the door off.
Well, I hope the privilege of free entry isn't abused, Dr. Hall. You can't be expected to do everybody's job. I had a step to with a faculty member about this very thing a day or so ago.
Oh, really?
He slipped. Why, yes. He wanted us to go trotting to you with a small dispute before we even had a chance to work it out for ourselves. I told him he was silly to bother you with it, that you had far more important things on your mind.
Oh, so that's what was said. Dean Huxley, I feel a most profound apology coming on.
Whoa, that crumb planter. A finer example of verbal skullduggery I have never heard.
Yes, a few minor word changes, a slight difference of inflection, even the raising of one eyebrow, and you have a total change of meaning.
Why, so he did come to you with this after all. But I can imagine what he said and what you've been thinking.
Oh, well,
Why, that nasty old... Oh, excuse me.
No, go right ahead. Go right ahead. You can speak freely withoat any fear of contradiction from me, at any rate.
I'm sorry. But at the moment, just thinking about Professor Heaslip makes me cross.
I know. All he has to say is good afternoon, and you start wishing you brought your umbrella.
Well, Agnes, I don't mind telling you that this has relieved my mind.
Well, now that I'm here, perhaps you'd like to know what started off this chain reaction.
We certainly would.
Well, you see, a sophomore got snowed in on a skiing weekend. Missed an early Monday morning quiz with Professor Heaslip, and he's refused to give her a chance to take it later.
But why?
Well, it sounds like a good enough excuse.
Well, you know our ruling on lateness, Dr. Hall, and Heaslip refused to make an exception. The girl wrote her father, and he's coming into town tonight to see me. But that's why I can't be at the committee meeting.
Oh, I see. Well, Dean Huxley, I don't want to intervene, but if you'd like me to see the girl's father, I'll be only too happy to do so.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Hall, but I'm sure I can placate him. But there is something you can do for me.
Oh?
Will you please get Heaslip out of my hair?
Well, I'll do my best. As an ornament in anyone's coiffure, he leaves a little to be desired. But at the same time, I shall have to commend him.
For what? Not starting the Chicago fire?
No, for bringing to our attention, in however a roundabout way, a matter which should be near the top of our agenda. It's high time we examined the whole problem of student rules and brought them up to date.
Yes. You do still seem to have hoop skirt regulations which are a little difficult to sit down in.
So I shall appoint a committee to bring the whole subject before the Student Legislative Council. And to be sure that something is accomplished, I would like our Dean of Women to serve on that committee.
Why, I'll be glad to. Thank you, Dr. Hall. And my apologies for losing my temper about Heaslip.
Oh, and my apologies to you. I've been forcibly reminded that the loyalty of friends mustn't depend upon a constant reiteration of it. I have learnt with Molière that doubts are more cruel than the worst of truth.
But as we sadly start our journeys apart, a part of every heart will linger here in the sacred halls of Ivy, where we've lived and learned to know that through the years we'll see you in the sweet afterglow. We'll remember halls of Ivy in the sweet
The Ford Dealers of America present The Fred Allen Show. The Fred Allen Show with Fred's guest, the new literary lion, Mr. James A. Farley, Fulton Hoffman, Minerva Pius, Peter Donald, Parker Penley, the DeMarco sisters, and Al Goodman in his orchestra. And this is Kenny Delmar speaking for your friendly Ford dealer. He's the man who knows your Ford from F to D and from bumper to bumper. What's more, he's vitally interested in your Ford. He wants to see that it gives you the best possible service. His mechanics are Ford-trained experts working with special Ford equipment. They use methods approved by the Ford factory and genuine Ford parts. So you can expect a better job done in less time and at a lower cost when you take your Ford back home for service.
Ladies and gentlemen, this week a survey reported that the life expectancy of the average man is 62 and 6/10 years. Tonight, we present an average man who hopes to live to be as old as his joke. He's Fred Allen.
Thank you. Thank you, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. In Portland, what is this life expectancy business? What is that?
The average man is supposed to live 62 years.
Oh, that's silly.
That's what Mama says.
What?
A man can't get his Social Security until he's 65.
Well, if he only lives to be 62.
The man will have to be dead 3 years before he can apply for his Social Security.
Well, the Marshall Plan is better than that.
How does that work?
Well, to get money under the Marshall Plan, you have to be living, but not in this country. Enough about life expectancy. What is our laugh expectancy for this evening?
Oh, I have some clippings.
Oh, clippings. Good. What's in the news?
Last Sunday, Edgar Bergen's program wasn't on the air.
No kidding. You mean Edgar's listeners didn't have a chance to hear that singing jingle, a royal pudding. Rich with flavor. Moose with fill. They didn't have a chance. Music lovers, jingle lovers didn't hear that,
And Jack Benny's program was off at the beginning, and he was cut off at the end, too.
The beginning and the end were off, eh?
Uh-huh.
Now, if they can only find a way to do something about the middle of Benny's program, radio will really be making progress, Portland.
I read that Jack's going to England this summer.
Yes, he's America's answer to C. Aubrey Smith.
Oh, you're always picking on Jack.
Why not? Benny is the only actor in Hollywood who has a burglar alarm on his garbage pail.
Jack lost Ronald Coleman's Oscar.
I know that. Mrs. Levant called Benny up to see if he could do as much for her. Tell me that's not libelous, is it? Is that libel? You're liable to get a letter from Oscar for that. Tell me, what else is new?
They caught a man from New Jersey selling horse meat in New York.
No kidding. How did they catch him?
Somebody found a racing form and a beef stew.
No kidding. I had a steak one time. I think it came from a steeplechase horse.
Why?
Every time I stuck my fork in the steak, it jumped over the mashed potato. And after that, I think I'll jump over the next two jokes, Portland, and start for Allen's Alley.
What is your question tonight?
Well, last week, the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Mastodonic and Super Colossal Circus opened here at Madison Square Garden. And so our question naturally is, what did you like best about this year's edition of the circus?
Shall we go?
As the stocking said when the garter broke, there's nothing to hold me up. Well, here we are back in Allen's Alley, Portland. Say, I guess Senator Claghorn's in all right. His Ford is parked in the mule stall. The mule must be in the house putting on the feed bag with the senator. Well, let's knock.
Somebody put the skin to my mansion. Oh, it's you, Jowl Eyes.
Jowl Eyes? Now, wait a minute, Senator.
Oh, your head looks lumpy, son. I can see you got something on your mind.
Well, yes,
Well,
Senator.
spill it, son. I'm busier than a sinner's kneecap at a revival meeting. You know, the baseball season opens in Washington tomorrow. I'm getting little old Harry in shape.
Well, is the president going to participate in the game?
Well, sure is. This year, Harry will play ball with anybody. Yeah, you know, he can't wait to throw that first ball out to the Washington team.
Well, why?
It'll be the first time this year the Senators have taken anything from Harry.
Well, tell me, Senator, how do you think the baseball season is going to turn out?
Well, the Taft-Hartley Act is going to make it hard on umpires.
The Taft-Hartley Act?
Now, before an umpire can call a strike, he'll have to get out an injunction.
Well, look, tell me, Senator, what about the circus this year? You see,
Well, son, the circus ain't got nothing we ain't got down in Washington. Take them clowns. We got more clowns in Washington than the circus ever seen. And them Ubangies. We got politicians with bigger mouths than any Ubangie. Now, take that juggler keeping 20 Indian clubs in the air. Congress has got the whole country up in the air.
What about the strong man, Senator? He carried 20 men on his back.
Well, carrying 20 men ain't nothing, son.
No?
We got a man down in Washington named Stassen.
A strong man?
He just carried 2 states, Wisconsin and Nebraska. So long, son. So long, Eddie.
I wonder if Harold will put those down later. Well, let's see. Let's see if Mr. Moody is still around.
Howdy, Bob.
Well, Mr. Moody, what is your reaction to the circus this year?
Oh, shucks. Circus don't mean nothing to me.
No?
No. My whole family was circus folks.
Oh, really?
They was freaks, mostly. My Uncle Geek Moody.
Geek Moody?
Geek L. Moody.
Yes?
He was known as Jojo, the dog-faced boy. He was famous.
Oh, yes, I've heard of Jojo.
He used to pose for dog food ads.
Pose? He posed, eh?
Jojo was a man of distemper.
Oh.
And then my aunt, Mona Moody.
Yes?
She traveled as Madame Lafarge.
Oh, Madame Lafarge, eh?
She was a bearded lady.
Oh. Well, how did your aunt become a bearded lady?
Why, she was raised on goat's milk.
Yes?
As a baby, she had a little goatee.
I see. I could see how that would develop.
Yeah. By the time she went to the circus, Mona was sure hairy.
She was hairy, eh?
Her face looked like the elbow of a raccoon caught.
Well, what other relatives did you have with the circus?
Well, my brother, Bunch Moody, he was a duck impersonator.
A duck impersonator, eh?
But things got bad and he disappeared.
He took his feathers and his webbed feet and disappeared completely?
Yeah. There was only one trace.
The duck impersonator?
He left a big bill at the hotel.
Have you yourself ever been with the circus, Titus?
Oh, once when I was a boy, but I got fired.
Fired? What happened?
Why, my job was feeding Jumbo, the elephant.
Yeah?
After 2 months, Jumbo lost 400 pounds. He wanted nothing but skin and tusks.
Well, how come?
I was nearsighted.
Nearsighted?
For 2 months, I was leaving the elephant's hay at the wrong end.
The elephant's hay at the wrong end?
Yeah. Jumbo was starving to death.
Uh-huh.
But he was setting pretty. So long, then.
Titus is too much for me. Let's try this next door.
Howdy, Jeffy.
Ah, Mrs. Nussbaum. How do you feel about the circus this year?
I'm going with Mr. and Mrs. Epstein.
Oh, the Epsteins, eh?
He is in the fur business, a big squeeze.
Oh, in the fur business. Well, tell me, what happened at the circus?
First, we are seeing the Siamese twins, 2 girls.
Girls, Siamese twins?
Standing in front is a big crowd, and everybody's guessing.
Guessing what?
Which Siamese twin is having the Tony Permanent?
Oh, well, after viewing the twins...
We are seeing the animals until is happening the accident.
Oh, say, what caused the accident?
Well, Mrs. Epstein is wearing, why not, her husband is in the fur business, a leopard coat.
Oh, I see.
Passing the leopard's cage, Mrs. Epstein is looking first on her coat, next on the leopard.
Uh-huh.
And she is saying, for this I am marrying.
Yeah?
Mr. Epstein is saying, what now?
What now?
Pointing to the leopard, Mrs. Epstein is saying, an animal is wearing a better fur coat than Lulu Bell Epstein.
Wow.
So Mr. Epstein is saying, Your coats with connections I'm buying wholesale.
Yeah?
Who does a leopard know he could buy wholesale a skin?
I see.
With this, Mrs. Epstein is pouting.
She's pouting, eh?
Mr. Epstein is saying, the leopard is a phony. His skin is imitation. I will prove it.
Being in the business.
Through the cage, Mr. Epstein is reaching in the hand to feeling by the leopard the skin.
Yes?
Right, there is a shriek.
A shriek? What happened?
You are eating with the circus is the great Eunice.
Oh, the fellow who balances himself on only one finger?
One finger.
You mean the great Eunice?
He is formerly Mr. Epstein.
That brings us to Mr. Cassidy's shanty. Well, let's stop for a minute or so with Ajax.
What's all the hook you do? Oh, how do you do?
Well, Ajax, have you been to the circus yet?
Don't mention circus to me. The opening matinee, I took my little nephew, Cosmos O'Shaughnessy.
Cosmos O'Shaughnessy?
Oh, sure, he's a human wildcat.
Really?
Well, to keep Cosmos from disrupting the circus, I bought him a box of Cracker Jacks, and I held him firmly by his sticky hand.
You walked around holding little Cosmos by the hand?
Well, only once I let go.
When was that?
Well, I was passing a big cage, you see. Yeah. And outside it said Gargantua.
Gargantua?
Well, I looked in the cage, and this gentleman was in there.
Yeah.
And I says to myself, says I, Gargantua. He looks like an uncle of mine, Mullet Muldoon.
Mullet Muldoon, eh?
Says I, hello, Mullet. But he just sat there cracking peanuts between his toes.
Well, it must have been Gargantua.
Unless Mullet was playing possum.
Let's possum. Well, after this episode...
So I reached out and I took little Cosmos again by the hand.
I see.
And I looked down. Glory be!
What?
By the hand, instead of holding little Cosmos O'Shaughnessy with his box of Cracker Jacks.
Yes?
I'm holding a midget, a little wrinkled one.
A wrinkle? Well, what did you do?
Well, the circus was normal. What could I do?
You took the midget home?
I explained the circumstances to Mr. and Mrs. O'Shaughnessy.
Yes?
They took a shine to the midget.
Uh-huh.
And the midget took a shine to the O'Shaughnessys. Oh, there was blessings all around.
Well, what happened to little Cosmos?
If you happen to visit the circus.
Yes?
And you see a midget with a sticky hand eating Cracker Jack.
Yes?
You're looking at Cosmos O'Shaughnessy.
Well, tell me, Ajax, how did you personally like the circus?
Me boy, they call it the biggest show on earth. To me, it is the biggest disappointment on earth.
Disappointment? The circus?
All that sawdust on the floor and you can't buy a drink in the place. Good night.
Now, from the circus, we turn to our musical sideshow. The five DeMarco sisters and Maestro Al Goodman and his big top band combined to give us Tooly Ooly Dooly. Girls?
When a Swiss boy goes calling on a Swiss miss in June, dooly, 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 doo, he sings a pretty tune. And he charms her like magic when he yodels this tune. Dooly, 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 doo, neath the Alpine moon, the echo goes higher. Both on fire. So when you get lonely, now you know what to do. Dooly, 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 doo. Make your dreams come true. The echo goes higher, with a dooly, dooly, dooly. And all of a sudden they lose their hearts for a fire. So when you get lonely, now you know where to do, how to do. Dooly, 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 doo. Dooly, 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 doo. Make your dreams come true. With a dooly,
And now, ladies and gentlemen...
Say, Fred.
Yes, Kenny?
Do you have a minute to help me? I'm writing a love poem.
A love... Kenny, why waste time writing a love poem? Call the girl up, reverse the charges, and tell her how you feel about it.
Yeah, but I know, but my poem isn't about a girl.
Not about what sort of a dactyl is it?
Well, I'll read it. Listen. Roses are red, violets are blue. Fords love Ford service, and so will you.
What's wrong with that? It starts off swell.
Yeah, I know. It's the next couplet is where I need help.
Oh, well.
I can't seem to rhyme genuine Ford parts, special equipment, Ford-trained mechanics, and factory-approved methods.
Now, that takes a bit of doing, but I may be able to handle it, pending the arrival of Superman. Let me see. Special equipment. You need a rhyme special. Say, I have it, Kenny. How is this? Special equipment and Ford-trained mechanics. Stop service worries. Eliminate panics.
Ah, that's great, Fred. Great.
Yeah.
And I have a sock finish. Get this. Your Ford is never nervous when you bring it home for service. How was that, Fred?
Well, you want the truth, Kenny.
Yeah.
It was all right, but you will never be the Edgar Guest of tomorrow.
Well, maybe not, Fred, but at least my poem tells why the best service from start to finish is designed to cost less at your friendly Ford dealer.
Yes, it does. It does do that. You have just heard a minute or two from Now Is the Hour, played by Maestro Al Goodman and 25 men who, if their instruments were taken away, would look like the police lineup. And now, say, Portland.
Yes?
Will you help me arrange these chairs around the table here, please? We're having a literary discussion tonight.
Have you found the book?
Oh, I have a book, an author, and a brace of critics.
Oh, who is the author?
Mr. James A. Farley.
Who is Mr. James A. Farley?
Who is Mr. James A. Farley? He is only one of the most famous figures in American political life. Why, Mr. Farley's new book is sweeping the country. It's number 2 on the best-seller list as of today.
Has it been banned in Boston yet?
No, only in Maine and Vermont. I'm looking forward to this tonight, Portland. This is going to be some discussion.
What a night for the literati.
Yes, and for the people who can read, too. They're enjoying. Well, Portland, I guess we're all set. Let's start our book program.
Presenting The Author Meets His Match. And here, ladies and gentlemen, is your moderator, that popular literary figure, the man who knew Random House when it was just a Quonset hut, Mr. Frederick Allen.
Thank you, and good evening, fellow bookworms. Tonight, as usual, our program is unrehearsed, unprepared, and uncalled for. The book up for discussion this evening is Jim Farley's Story, written by the Honorable James A. Farley. We have a brilliant panel of literary giants assembled this evening. I'm going to ask the critics to introduce themselves. Now, first...
I am Dr. Wolfgang Holstein.
You are a psychiatrist, Dr. Holstein?
Yeah, so my office is in Central Park.
In Central Park?
Yeah, instead of a couch, my patients lay down on a bench.
Well, how can patients find you in Central Park?
Simple. You come in from 6th Avenue, and on the left you are looking behind a bush and whistling.
You are behind the bush?
I am dressed like a doctor. I am wearing a white coat and white pants.
Oh, I see.
In between patients, I sell good humor.
Doctor, do you by any chance have a literary background?
Oh, so I am writing a book now on psychiatry.
Oh, a book?
It is called From Neurosis to Halitosis.
Very good.
The bookmark is a package of Sen-Sen.
Well, thank you, Dr. Holst.
You're welcome.
Now, our next critic.
I am Prudence Paddleford.
And you, Miss Paddleford?
I am the literary consultant and hostess in charge of tea bags for the Rexall drugstore.
You review the books before they go on sale at your chain of drugstores?
Yes, I select books that will help the sale of our merchandise.
Well, just how do you mean that, Miss Paddleford?
Well, for example, when we're having a sale of soap, we display Captain from Castile. When we have a special on umbrellas, we feature Raintree County.
Very good.
And when we displayed Bob Hope's book,
yes,
we were introducing Airwick.
Well, Well, thank you, Miss Paddlefoot. And now the international celebrity.
I am Sergei Stroganov from the Soviet Union, literary correspondent for the world's outstanding daily newspaper, Pravda. I am the sworn enemy of yellow journalism, bourgeois music, and things in general.
Mr. Stroganoff, you are a critic.
All my life I have been a critic. That is why I'm in America today.
Well, why?
I criticize something in Russia.
Mr. Stroganoff, how do you feel about American books?
Americans? Bah! They are all capitalists. The only books the Americans are reading are bank books. God will hold you, plutocrat.
Well, thank you, Mr. Stroganoff. And now, ladies and gentlemen, our distinguished author of the evening.
I am James A. Farley.
Mr. Farley, you are the author of Jim Farley's story.
I am.
Tell me, how did you come to write about yourself?
In politics, Mr. Allen, that's the safest thing to do.
The safest?
You better write about yourself before somebody else does.
Well, will you tell us something about your book, Mr. Farley?
I'd be glad to. Jim Farley's story is a sort of a record of my life in politics. Over 35 years of service in the Democratic Party.
Well, at what point in your life, Mr. Farley, did you first suspect that you would join this party?
When I was a baby, my parents knew I would grow up to be a Democrat.
Well, how?
A Republican politician who was running for office came around kissing babies.
Yes?
When he bent over my crib to kiss me...
Yes?
I bit him on the nose.
And?
Biting that Republican was my first service to the Democratic Party.
Thank you, Mr. Farley. There, ladies and gentlemen, you have our brilliant lineup for tonight. Our author, Mr. James A. Farley, versus our three astounding critics. And now, critics...
Oh, excuse me, please.
Yes, Dr. Holstein?
Mr. Farley is a very interesting psychological case.
Well, how do you mean that, Doctor?
Well, as a baby, he bit a man on the nose.
Yes?
This is a sign of frustration. The baby could not bite his own nose, so he bit somebody else's nose.
You Americans always you're sticking your noses into somebody else's business. In Russia, everybody has his nose to the grindstone. It looks terrible.
Speaking of noses, give your nose a treat. Let it smell the perfume on sale at Rexall.
Ah, you see, I told you. Now Rexall is putting their business in everybody's noses.
Please, if you will. Critics, we are here to discuss Mr. Farley's book. Mr. Farley, I've heard you on several radio programs recently speaking about your book in glowing terms.
Yes, Mr. Allen, I've appeared with the Fitzgeralds, Mary Margaret McBride, Dorothy and Dick, and author meets the critic.
Radio in America, bah! In Russia, the real radio. What program? The masses goes a-shopping. Life can be brutal, and Comrade Linkletter's program, People Are Bolshevik. That's radio.
Excuse me, please.
Yes, Dr. Holstein. Yes, Dr. Holstein.
I had a patient once who was on the radio. He was a sound man.
A sound man?
Yeah. All he did was open and close doors.
Yes?
After 5 years, he thought he was a door.
You say this man thought he was a door?
Yeah, he took the buttons off his vest and had a knob sewed on. All day he went around knocking himself.
Doctor, did you cure this patient?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
He no longer thinks he's a door?
No, today he thinks he's a window. He goes with his vest pulled up, he thinks he's open.
Yes, it is very. Speaking of radio, Rexall carries a complete stock of radios. And remember, if there's no Rexall drugstore in your neighborhood is no neighborhood, it's a wilderness.
In America, that's a wilderness. Siberia, the wilderness.
Your brain is a wilderness. Who needs you here?
Critics, Dr. Holstein, please, if you will.
I'm sorry.
Control yourself, Doctor. I must remind you, critics, we're here to discuss Mr. Farley's book. Now, Mr. Farley, would you tell us, please, some of the highlights of Jim Farley's story?
Well, I think one of the most exciting days of my life was the day I was appointed Postmaster General.
Postmaster General. That is capitalism. A general can't make enough money being a general. He's got to be a postmaster on the side.
Mr. Farley, excuse me.
Yes, Dr. Holstein.
You said you were the Postmaster General?
Yes, I was appointed in 1933.
Yeah, so in 1933, I mailed out a bill to one of my patients. The patient never paid me. He says he never got the bill.
But what does that concern me, Doctor?
Well, did you ever have a letter left over in your mail bag?
I didn't deliver the mail, Doctor. I was the Postmaster General.
Oh, excuse me.
Dr. Holstein, did you put a stamp on that letter in 1933?
A stamp? I knew I forgot something. A stamp.
Oh, stamps remind me. You make a stamp with your tongue. This week, Rexall is featuring a delicious tongue sandwich. As we say at Rexall, our tongue sandwich speaks for itself.
Yeah, this is America. Only a sandwich can speak. A man can't open his mouth.
Open your mouth. You don't say nothing. That's all you got to keep talking. Open your mouth.
One more outburst, and I'll adjourn this discussion. I'm sorry, Mr. Farley. Getting back to your book. Today in the New York Times, I noticed that Jim Farley's story is second on the bestseller list. How do you account for that?
Well, Mr. Allen, this is an election year. Probably everybody is interested in politics.
Yeah, Mr. Farley, as a psychiatrist, I would say that politics is the most...
bourgeois propaganda.
Stroganoff, I was talking...
Talking over, you're talking yada.
At least I say something.
He's the only honest politics. We are having the secret ballot.
The secret ballot?
The Communist Party and the other party.
What is the other party?
That is the secret.
How could a big march like you keep a secret?
In your book, quiet, please. In your book,
don't...
Mr. Farley, in your book, do you deal with any other subject, or do you confine yourself to politics?
Well, I mentioned of my business association with the Coca-Cola Company.
Yeah, you know, that is most interesting, Mr. Farley. I once had a patient who thought it was a Coca-Cola bottle.
A Coca-Cola bottle?
Yeah, every time he returned himself to my office, I had to give him a nickel back on himself.
What finally happened to this patient who thought he was a bottle of Coca-Cola?
He blew his top.
The top drink is vodka and Coca-Cola. In each glass we are putting 2 bear feet.
2 bear feet?
Those are the paws that refresh us.
That may be a joke, but Rexall service is no joke.
You are a joke. I'm laughing on you.
Yeah, hyenas is always laughing.
Touché, Dr.
Hyena, he said. They are calling me a hyena. Are you listening, Joe?
I'm sorry, Mr. Farley. Mr. Farley, we don't seem to be getting anywhere with your book.
I don't want to be an old spoilsport, Mr. Allen, but something tells me that none of your critics has read my book.
Well, I'll soon find out. Critics, have you read Mr. Farley's book?
No.
This is indeed embarrassing, Mr. Farley. No one on the panel, apparently, has read Jim Farley's story. If we could get a few copies of the book in a hurry...
I can take care of that.
Well, this is Sunday, Mr. Farley. The bookstores are all closed.
Fortunately, I always carry a suitcase full of books with me. Wait until I open this case.
But, Mr. Farley...
Step right up, folks. Get your copy of Jim Farley's story.
Mr. Farley.
$3.50, complete with jacket and bookmark.
Mr. Farley.
You say Jim Farley's story ain't enough? Tell you what I'm going to do.
Now, wait a minute.
Get away, boys. You bother me. Here you are, folks. With every copy of Jim Farley's story, I'm giving a ballpoint pen.
I want to thank Mr. James A. Farley for joining us tonight and Mr. Jack Eigen for tuning us in. And I want to remind you that your Ford dealer is now showing the new Ford trucks. And from all reports, these trucks are really something. The new line of 139 models includes the biggest Ford trucks ever built. And they're all bonus built, which means built extra strong to last longer. See them at your Ford dealers. Next week, our guest will be Brooklyn's Man of the Hour, Leo DeRocha. Thank you and good night. Good night. Thank you.
This program came to you from New York. This is NBC, the national broadcasting company.